electricians, plumbers, mechanics. All these people here have a trade.
It's
and
reality.
They're pushed out by these dot-commers, by how Oakland has took the rent control and put it on stable. So now the people that, because they're unstable, these guys come in here, they build these places, and now a studio costs $3 grand. Who, a studio? Come on, who pays $3 grand for a studio? A studio costs $3 grand, so that's what happens when you get pushed out and there's no rent control.
Yep, that's what happened to Denver. That's what happened to Denver.
So what did you saved up money and were able to get a cheap place? Is that how you got? Or
no, there's
city,
programs. Maybe? Project Dignity and Backs is a good program to hang with, and these programs will help you get out of here. As long as you stay focused, as long as you stay on their backs, they're going to help you get out of here. And I stayed on them, I didn't want to survive, and I didn't want to live here. I didn't want to die here. I didn't want to die on the streets. That's what I didn't want to do. And so I stayed on their backs. Project Dignity got me into a program called Safer Ground. Safer Ground put me in a Days Inn out there in East Oakland. I stayed out there for like 4 months.
Yep.
Then my housing came through. Bax helped me with housing and get into the program. I got into Bax program, then they helped me get into Abode. Then Abode placed me into a place. These programs work if you know how to get into the system.
Yep.
So given how much did you have to pay to get a place? Did the city pay for everything and you just...
The city basically paid for my first, last, and deposit, and I pay rent every month.
And the rent's cheaper than it would be if you... Yeah. What's the rent cost?
My rent is $276 a month.
And
That's what I paid. That's what I paid. $275 for 7 years. Yeah, 7.5 years. From 2008 until 2013. Yeah. And then we lost our apartment. It was $275 a room for a 3-bedroom. It was $1,000 a month for the 3-bedroom. It was so awesome. It was so awesome. It was the best time of my life. And when we had affordable rent, everybody around me flourished. Everybody made music and was in bands and loved each other and took care of each other. And everybody gave you rides and everybody would buy you meals if you were hungry and give you cigarettes and alcohol and stuff. The minute that they killed the lower class and they raised the rent to like $1,200 for a single bedroom, and all the landlords sold their stuff, our landlords sold our place out from under us, and we went from having to pay $275. It was more than that later on. It was like $450. It was like $450 each for a 2-bedroom. We went from paying $450 each on a $900 2-bedroom to paying $1,150 for a 1-bedroom. And it pretty much fucked the entire city, fucked everybody, put everybody out there in their cars and in the Walmart parking lots. And it was okay to be out in the Walmart parking lots in your cars for a while, but then the pigs' war on the poor began, and now we got this, and it's not too good. And like most of these people on the streets and stuff, they're actually the salt of the earth. They're the people who do the lower and the middle classes labor.
That
I guess housing does.
Everybody I knew down there everybody I knew in downtown Denver had a fucking job. Essentially, when they were homeless, they had a job. They were going somewhere for at least 3 hours a day, be it whatever it was. Sometimes it's selling drugs, prostitution. Sometimes it's working as a construction worker for day labor. Sometimes it's doing something odd job for somebody or a friend or something. Or maybe they're like, if you'll help me like clean the backyard, you can stay here for 3 days and I'll give you 3 meals, kind of thing. I got a bunch of times like that, or you can stay in the basement if you if you clean the basement or that kind of thing, if you paint the walls or that kind of thing, or I did a lot of house sitting for a while there. My friends knew that before I was on drugs, I was a very good house sitter, and for a long time I would just like bounce from house to house, and they knew I liked a transitory lifestyle, but I wasn't a homeless, jobless person yet. So they were like, oh yeah, come to my house for 3 months. We're going to Alaska. We're going to, one time it was like Canada for 4 months, and somebody went to Britain for a month, and like they would just have me take over their house for 3 solid months and stuff, all summer and stuff like that. Shout out to Elle for hooking me up one summer. I never did see her ever again, but she was a wonderful lady. She helped me when I really needed help, and she trusted that I wouldn't harm her, and I didn't. And in terms of like stealing from her or messing up her place, and I stayed at her place for 3 whole solid months, right in the eye of the storm. I told my friends in 2015 on December 23rd that I was just, I was just leaving. I was like, well, I can no longer pay rent. My federal unemployment is ending on December 23rd, and they waited until December 15th to tell us. And so then I had to leave my place on January 1st in Denver, Colorado, when it was literally 5 degrees outside. It was fucked up. And I just packed my shit in my car. I settled with the roommate. I paid for the floor damage, which was all of my savings, because I accidentally damaged his floor by pulling up the duct tape that I'd used to secure a cord. And so I shelled out to him $900 to pay for the floor, and I gave him my cat. And that led to something like worse later, which was kind of fucked up. But I came back for the cat later, and that got me in even worse trouble. And and it was just fucking crazy, and I felt taken advantage of by the system. I felt let down by the Republicans who cut out that federal unemployment on December 23rd, 2015, and the whole fucking country and all the people's kids and all the families were watching C-SPAN instead of like CBS and shit every night. I knew all over the country there were people watching C-SPAN all day, trying to catch wind of John Boehner showing up and telling us that we were going to be homeless in dead January. And sure enough, he did. He showed up like fucking... And he was like, yeah, 7 million Americans are going to be homeless on the streets, and there's 6.5 million kids, or whatever the fucking number was at the end, and I was one of them. Have a nice January. Merry Christmas. It's December 23rd in 2 days, and 8 million Americans out on their fucking asses on January 1st to January 3rd, depending on whatever your rent was up. And yeah, and then suddenly 8 million people were on the streets, and I was talking in comment chats on YouTube, and I was like leading prayer circles and stuff, and I was contacting my friends. I was like, I need the assistance and all this shit. It's not like I didn't try to get a job. I showed my friends. I was like, here is a backlog of the 450 times I applied for a job in the last 2 weeks. They make me do it. If I'm to get any unemployment, I have to show them a list of all the times that I applied for jobs and heard nothing back. But I mean, I had a non-working period there as a WoW raider for, oh God, it was a long time. And then I was a delivery driver for 5 years, but then I lost my car broke down, my tranny and my Subaru went out. I was a delivery driver, so I lost my job. I lost my house on December 23rd. I'm sorry, I lost the assistance on December 23rd, and I was homeless on January 1st. And so my friends came through for me. They were like, okay, we've set you up at Elle's house for 3 months. She's going out of town. You're just going to take over and feed her dog. That's it. That's all you have to do. You don't have to, you have to keep it clean if you're going to use it, if you're going to use the dishes in the washing machine and all this. But they were like, yep. And then that set me off on another career of house sitting for another year and a half or something like that. I was able to stay around Denver when the rent was all $13.50. It had gotten to like $14.50 for 1 bedroom. You got to remember, it's not so bad when the rent's $1,000, but right, you have to pay deposit. That's what's so bad about the rent being $1,000. It's not bad when the rent's $500. I don't care. But I mean, when the rent's $1,000 to $1,300, they make you pay first and last month's deposit and the rent, which is, that's like goddamn, I mean, when it's $1,300, that is like $4,000. It's $4,000. And you're like this dude working a fucking delivery job, trying to live 9 to 5 with your homies. And you're like, you're like 33 or something like this. And you're like, you're just you're like lower class now, but you were middle class the last 10 years when you were able to afford your $400 room in your rentals in the city. But then they killed the rent. They cast us all out. They hunted us for drugs while we were on the street. They kicked us off the streets at night so we couldn't sleep. They fucking moved us all around all the place. Every 3 weeks they roust you. At 5:15 in the morning, even along the Platte Park River, they would send these park rangers. They looked like cops, but they were actually park rangers, and they would go down the bike path for 15 miles on bikes and shit like this, or just walking, and they would kick every homeless. They'd literally come along. They'd kick you, not hard, but they just kick you. They'd be like, kick. And then they're like, wake up, get the fuck up. It's 5:15 in the fucking morning. You can't sleep here. Get the fuck out of here. And we're like, Jesus fucking Christ, man. Like 2 years ago, I was serving you your food and delivering you your food to your house and and paying rent next to you. I was your neighbor and all this shit. And here now you're kicking me while I'm homeless and drunk and like wasted on fucking methamphetamine or something like that after a long night of partying or something at 5:15 in the morning after an hour and 45 minutes of sleep or something like that. And I have to go to work here in 20 minutes. And I had an hour and 45 minutes sleeps, and here's a fucking park ranger, kicking me on the fucking bike path or whatever, off the bike path, like hunting for me in the bushes so they can come and kick me. You know what I'm saying? Going out of their ways to like hunt us in the bushes and shit like this. They really didn't want us there. You know, they were like, fuck you. We spent so much money on this place and all this, on this bike path and all this. And they're like, you can't wreck it by being here all the time. And I'm like, I get it. But I mean, I have nowhere else to motherfucking go. You guys raised the rent to goddamn $1,300. That's what I would tell every pig that roused me. I'm sorry, they raised the rent. I'm sorry, they raised the rent. I can't pay $1,300 and you can't either. You know, and he's like, yeah, you know, church.
Like the city of
That
Oakland.
motherfucker's making, you know, he's not a doctor. He's not making upwards to 50 grand a year. He's making like, he's a cop. What does a Denver cop make? What is a Denver cop's salary, right? The guy's making like 39 grand or something like that. It's you know, it's like now it's 49, but 10 years ago it was 39, you know. Now it's 49 because it's like they have to raise it or they won't do the job, you know. So I mean, this is a decent job. You can make a good living as a police officer, and there's all this other graft and stuff you can do too. But I mean, like overall, it's like 50 grand is the 25th percentile, right? But 76 is the 75th percentile and all this. So generally it starts at like 30 and it goes up to 50 if you stay there for 10 years because they raise you every year if you stay there, right? So I mean, 50 grand is pretty good money, but it's not a living wage. I don't know. What is the living wage? I'm sorry, what is a living wage, right? What is a living wage in American Metro City, right? American Metro City, right? What's the average living wage in American Metro City, right? What is the average living wage, right? So in order for a living wage for 2 adults, you have to be making $35 an hour between you. And that is a living wage. The poverty wage is $9. If you want to live in the lower class, you have to be making $10 each or $7, something like that, right? And minimum wage is $16 now, but 10 years ago it was $9.50. You know, I'm dead serious. It was $9.50. So living wage, you know, it's like hard to track all this stuff, but like I'm saying, like they raised the cost of the rent, the food, the gas, the cars, the transportation, the fucking light rail was $5, the fucking everything in existence went up by like 35% or something like that, and nobody could pay it, and the rent went up by 200% or something like that. It went from like $550 for a 1-bedroom to $1350 for a 1-bedroom, which is like an extra 65%. It's double. It's definitely 110% extra or something like that. And it was overnight. I went from paying $450 to house hunting that month, from paying $450 and house hunting to $1050. It was like literally like suddenly they were like, oh, we're charging triple for everything. And everybody paid it because of the marijuana revolution. They try to move into the city and they try to sell and grow marijuana. And so all these rich, well, not rich, but like medium well-off people in the middle class came to the city trying to join the green, the green rush, the green gold rush, you know. And they did do so well for a while, but then the gold rush didn't die, but it didn't really it didn't explode either. It just sort of stayed steady. And so they, and they couldn't pay the rent. The rent at that point became, now in Denver for like a 1-bedroom in 2024, I mean, I don't even know, $2,400 something. I don't even know how much for a 1-bedroom. Denver average, right? It's gonna be like $1,350 at least. No, it's 1974. I was like, it's at least $1,350, but I haven't lived there long enough to know. It's $1,970 fucking dollars a month. That is the average for a single 1-bedroom. Who the fuck has $24,000 a year to spend on just rent? I'll tell you who. You got to be a cop or better, making like been there for 5 years or something. You got to actually have a career to be able to pay this. And so all the people who were just like living and working for $8 to $10 an hour, who were paying $500 a month rent and completely happy, the city was a utopia. Everybody was happy. Like I remember New Year's Eve, 2008, something like that. They hadn't raised, it was right before, it was like 2006, I think, something like that. New Year's Eve 2006 was like, I'll never forget it. Downtown New Year's Eve, they set off fireworks and they gave free drinks to the entire fucking downtown and everything. All these businesses were giving free drinks and all this shit, and like everybody was drunk. And I remember like buying a bag of weed from a weed dealer on a busy Colfax bus with 400 people on it, at at the turn of New Year's, I was doing a weed deal, buying a sack from some dude in 2006, and the clock ticked over while we were on the Colfax bus because I couldn't get down from downtown fast enough to come to the party. So I was taking a bus home from downtown after watching the fireworks at like 11 o'clock at night or something like that. It was so wonderful. 16th Street Mall, and there was no thievery, no homeless on the streets, there was no hunger, there was no, I mean, there was like poor people and there was drug addicts on the streets down there. There was. East Colfax has always been sort of seedy like that, but it was like maybe 10 people or something like that. Then, right, that was like 2006. By 10 years later, there was a tent shanty taking up the entirety of the fucking park directly across from the Capitol building. A tent shanty engaged with 3,000 Denver citizens who were all working people. Every single one of them had a job while they were homeless. Almost everybody there had a goddamn job of some form or another. You couldn't, you had to. How were you going to live if you didn't, you know? And like, so, you know, and you had to do something for money, you know, or you had like food stamps and all this help from your family or something, you know, whatever you could do, your friends. And so, yeah, and then by 2016, all these working people were just pounding crack, black tar heroin, and methamphetamine right in fucking public, right with their crack pipes, just right there in public, right out there. 3,000 people sitting around in a fucking park in the middle of the fucking day, waiting for the night so they can get high or steal or something like that. All of them crazy, all with mental health issues. All of them have dealt with homelessness now for like at least 2, if not 5 or 10 years or something like that. And they don't set off fireworks anymore. No one's happy. Everybody's fucking poor, and the only happy people are the fucking landlords who raised the goddamn rent to $1,974. And I say, yeah, I don't know, don't kill your landlord, but definitely replace your landlord with somebody who has a heart and a soul.
Something like that.
How long do you get to live cheap like that?
As long as I pay my rent, and as long as I renew my lease, and as long as I do what they expect me to do.
There's hundreds of people here. Why don't they?
Because they're still building places for these people.
No, we just don't have enough cheap places for all these people, though.
No.
We do, but we don't. There's a system. I'm gonna say this one more time.
If you help yourself. Yeah, like if you help yourself, you'll get out of it. But they've been there so long, they don't want to help themselves anymore. They've been kicked out. They've been treated like garbage by their community. They've been pariahs. Some of them have been called wicked and fucking whores and sluts and prostitutes and shit. And some of them have been shot at by fucking pigs and gangsters and shit like that. And they've been in knife fights and shit. And they're parts of members of like MC-13 and all this shit. Like gang members left and right that aren't even in the gang anymore. They're just fucking straight up on the corner, fucking broke and crack addicts, right? And it's like I'm sorry, but like, you know, like I feel that almost all of that was because you just tripled the rent one year. I feel almost all of this was because you tripled the rent one year. You just decided that you, the landed gentry, were going to just triple the rent and triple the inflation and triple the banking crisis and triple the fucking support for the banks instead of the people and all this other shit. In 2008, bank collapse came around and the housing crisis came in earnest, and the 1974 was set in stone. And yeah, now we got 1900. Yeah, you want to talk about the new 1984? The new 1984 is the average monthly rent. The new 1984 is not some fucking truncheon or boot heel. The new 1984 is how much your rent is. The new 1984 is how much your rent is. Why are you so fucking laggy? Yep, stop sending $196 billion to Ukraine and help our citizens, traitors. Sure, I love Ukraine and I want to support them, but every time I think about Ukraine, I think about this, that. You see it there in the background, and I'm like, yeah, we kind of got a war at home. We kind of got a war at home. All the rich people stole all the money. All the fucking landlords went crazy and started charging triple, and now all the lower and the middle class are on the streets. And I say we got to do something.
Just like when you go fishing, if that line breaks, there's a solution to that line breaking.
Just like that. Yep, there's always like a stopgap for something, right? If you believe that you can, like, get better, you will. If you don't, you won't.
You attach it to another line, and once you attach it to another line, you throw it out there and catch the fish. It's the same with the whole homelessness. You attach it to another line and fish and catch them and send them somewhere else. It's a solution to this problem. We just don't use that solution. There's a big solution. Oakland gets too much money for the homelessness for it not to be for these people. Man, all these vacant buildings, open up a shelter, open up mini shelters.
Like right here.
Yeah, you got
all these empty buildings. It's the behavior of evil, wicked, shitty demons. It's the behavior of the rich, the behavior of the meritocracy. They have killed this world. Empty fucking buildings as far as the eye can see. Empty fucking cars as far as the eye can see. And all the homeless on the streets where they belong. It's disgusting. I want them done. I want them gone. Them tripling the rent and killing my entire generation. I would see them burned, frankly. I would not see them burned. I would see the property taken from them and given back to the masses so we can all live. I don't need a place anymore, but these people do. And like, I'm sorry, but this is not how you run things. Poor, starving, homeless people down the street from the supermarket mega store is not how humanity should work.
all these lands, you got all this abandoned stuff, and you talking about there's a solution.
There's a solution.
Has too much money for it not to be a
Yep.
solution.
Yep. Oakland does have too much goddamn money. Oakland is rich as fuck. Oakland's fine. California's doing great. I mean, they're not doing so great economically, but I mean, like, right now they're not doing so great economically. But in terms of a city, Oakland is going strong. I love Oakland. I've been there many times. It's a wonderful city. You know what else I like is what is it? Riviera? No, not Riviera. I always remember. I forget the name of the northern one. I used to go there a lot with my parents. I can't remember the name of the town. It's like something Riviera, right? I can't remember town Riviera, Cali town Riviera, right? Cali City Riviera, whatever it is. What is it? It's like La Riviera. Was it La Riviera? I don't think Santa Barbara. There we go. I'm sorry, Santa Barbara. I used to really like Santa Barbara.
Solution for this problem. You can help people. You can get them. You can get them medical. You can get them back to the workforce. You can do all that through these programs that they got.
Mm-hmm.
It's no way that these people should be homeless.
So, a lot of people say homeless people. They're.
I like his hat. It's good.
They made decisions that they need to. If you want to create a situation where you can live like that, then you deserve to live.
Nope, bullshit. It's all entirely fucking engineered by the rich. This entire thing is engineered by the rich. The raising of the rent, the raising of the inflation, the wars overseas, the fucking bullshit that they do. It's all that zeitgeist of just essentially like casting anybody but them out to the wolves. Anybody but them to the wolves.
Like that.
Anyone understand why they're doing what they're doing? It's a simple thing. Anybody but them to the wolves. As long as it's not them to the wolves, they don't care what's happening.
That choice, like,
bullshit.
I don't know. Is that
bullshit?
Not true?
That's all bullshit.
Yep.
You tell those people that think that
Yep,
90% of these people are using dope, using drugs,
nope.
that's a lie.
That's a lie. That's a lie.
And then that's
nope. No. Like I actually like I never thought about this, but there is this crazy conviction that every single one of these motherfuckers is a crackhead or something like that. But no, you'd be surprised how many of these people are stone cold sober and very serious. It's actually a lot more of that stuff than it is like fucking off and putting yourself at risk of going to jail or something like that. Because if you got priors and you get rolled for possession, you're in jail for a long time. So a bunch of these people are on probation and can't do shit at all when it comes to crime. They can't even shoplift without going to jail for 4 fucking years. I think the right wing seems to think that all these people are like these based fucking, drug addict fucking thieves and all this. Sure, some of them are, but I mean, like, overall, These are people who are on probation for drug possession charges who can't do shit. Almost all of them. I never met anybody downtown who wasn't currently on probation, who wasn't currently figuring out how to get around a piss test or whatever. You think they're just down there getting high all the time? No. They've all got priors. They've all got possession charges. They've all got probation. Every single motherfucker I met in Denver had probation. Every single one.
Was addictions.
I can't. I like every single one of them. You'd be like, yeah, I gotta go call my PO. I gotta call my PO and shit all the time. If you were to sit in a drug car for 2 hours and stuff while you wait for some dealer or something like that, you're gonna hear 2 of those 4 people call into their probation officer. And you respect this, and you help them do it too. You got a phone? I gotta call my PO. Gotta call my PO. Yeah, I got a phone. Will you walk me to the phone? You walk a girl to a fucking payphone if you have to. Walk the girl to the payphone, but she's got to call the PO. Everybody's on probation. Everybody. You seem to think they're sitting down there around there getting fucking off and getting high. Yeah, if they're fixing to go to jail, yeah, they're down there getting high. If they're fixing to go to jail and throw a dirty UA on their almost certain probation. Then I never met somebody on the streets who wasn't on probation. I believe they're mutually exclusive. I'm saying they're like mutual. They're like completely mutual. If there is probation, if there's homelessness, there is probation and cops hassling them. I'm sorry, but it really is like that. I've never felt more ostracized and harassed and persecuted in my life. So when I was homeless, and honestly, when you think about it, when somebody in your community is homeless, should they really be the target of the police? Aren't they essentially the most harmless person there? They don't have any money. If they're stealing, bust them, yeah, and fuck them. But I mean, like, overall, I think the crime is actually committed by people who have money. I don't know. I've never knew poor people to get away with almost anything but goddamn shoplifting. They don't get away with possession. They're constantly being pulled over and profiled and shit like that. They don't get away with dealing drugs. Somebody always snitches on them or something like that. They don't get away with stealing because somebody always shoots them if they do that. So, like, generally, most of the fucking people on the streets are supposed to be these shiftless, dead-eyed fucking drug addicts and all this are actually stone cold sober and so depressed that they can't get high. They're on probation. They throw a piss test in 3 days. Almost everybody I ever met had a piss test in 3 days. It was like a permanent thing for everybody I ever met in downtown Denver. It's like, yeah, I got a piss test in 3 days and I'm still smoking and I'm gonna go to jail. Or it's, no, I can't smoke. I'm on probation. You know, that was the reality that I saw. I didn't see like dudes chilling out with Rasta hats or crackheads with sunglasses and shit, carrying fridges and shit while they smoke crack pipes all day. It was more like people getting up at 4:45 in the morning to work some shitty day job, coming home in the afternoon to chill there and sit there and wait for something good to happen that isn't essentially the destruction of your community and your life, and then sleeping for 2 hours from between 1:15 in the morning till 3:15 in the morning or some such, 2 to 4, 3 to 5, something like that, and then getting up and doing it all over again. I mean, that's all it really is getting up at 4 in the fucking, or whatever, 5:15 in the fucking morning, doing some shitty job so you can actually eat, as opposed to spending like $7 a day on food stamps because they don't give you that many food stamps, and and all this. Not anymore, they don't. And so and just understand, this isn't some picnic of getting high all day and kicking your feet up like me and playing video games all day and shit. It's the most work I've ever done in my whole life.
What percentage of the people out
and
here?
All of the people down there, they were the hardest workers I've ever met. Honestly, the laziness doesn't exist in these people on the streets. That I would not say that is the case. These are people who walk 5-10 miles a day, and all this shit. They're not like that they have to defend themselves. They get in fights all the time. These are not lazy, shitty people. They're like actually the salt of the fucking earth. They've always been. The lazy people are the people driving by, ignoring as these people starve to death. Like me, like me now,
Probably 5% of people use drugs.
Used or
5% because they're all on probation.
Use drugs. Whatever situation you want.
So 1 out of 20 is an addict. The rest are people like yourself that
want to get out of here.
Yep.
That want to get out of here.
That was my experience too.
It's not in this lifetime. They were pushed to the streets. These people wasn't addicts. These people.
Okay, so like I got some homeless kids together who were like, two of them were living out of a trailer park, couple of brothers, and then the other one was living out of a motel room. That's my friend C. I love my friend C to death, and I haven't seen her in like 5 years, but that's my West Coast prostitute connection, and I've never used her services, I promise. But she is one of my best friends, right? And she knew everybody in the town that I live in, so she was extremely valuable to me, and I was extremely valuable to her because I was a taxi driver who was willing to give her rides if she would help me hook drugs and stuff like that. And so I met the brothers. One of them is dead now, and I met the sister who was living out of motel rooms and shooting heroin, and I met my stripper girlfriend in Denver who had the hookup, and through her I met my friend A who had the magic phone. And then when when my car broke down the second time, I went back to the West Coast, right? And I set up, and I was like, I literally approached this like this. I got the brothers together, and I got A together, and I talked to A about it, and I was like, if you sing to me here, and I could bring it to the West Coast and all this, we can make millions. And she was like, yes, we can. She was 100% certain of it. She was like, yes, we can. If you can get like somebody down there to sing for you, I can even help you transport it. She was like, I can help you transport it, no problem. And then she was like, but like, yeah. And she was like, I like opening other cities. And she was like, I want to do it. She was like, yeah. And so I was like, okay. And I went back out there when I lost my car the second time, and I got the two brother drug dealers together who were like crazy car thief, fucking nutty car chase people. And I was like, hey, you guys want to be Jesse Pinkman? And they were like, yeah, we do. And I got my own Badger and my own Skinny Pete. And then and then the other person in our crew was the West Coast town prostitute who was a heroin addict who wanted her own home and her own money, and she was like, oh yeah, I'll sling dope for you, I'll connect you, I'll help protect you, I'll move shit for you, I'll protect the brothers, I'll get a crew for them, and all this other shit. And I was like, okay. And then I talked to my friend A in Denver, and and then we were planning all this, and I let a couple of months go by, and one of the brothers led a high-speed chase from a town down south all the way north to where I lived. And this brought the heat on all of us. Now, we were not investigated. We were not involved, right? But it brought the heat in a way where, had we done anything, they were watching his brother. And this fucked all of it because we had, including A, now had a connection to her brother and to his brother. And now my friend Alan is dead. The brother that didn't go to jail is now dead because his brother went to jail for the high-speed chase for possession, right? Because these kids are so crazy. They don't stop. They know it's like a 5-year bid. They don't stop. They're just trying to get away. They don't care. They know it's a 5-year bid. They got priors and gang tats, and And I respect them, and I respect their ability and their desire to get away. Frankly, I wouldn't do a 5-year bid either. You know what I'm saying? For possession, fuck no, or gang beefs or something. No. That's what losers do. That's how you go to clown college. So he led a high-speed chase for like 45 miles and ended up in downtown where I live, which was just insane. And that's where they busted him in the high fucking speed chase. His brother got so depressed while he was in jail that he became a heroin addict, and I had to end my friendship with him because I like 3 weeks into his heroin addiction, I was like, dude, this is the crossroads here. You can stop using needles now today while you haven't gotten too addicted to it, and you can quit now. Or something bad is going to happen fairly soon down the road. You just do not have the control to be a junkie. I've been around them a lot. You do not have the control to be a junkie. You will kill yourself. And on top of it, we had already witnessed him overdose once already. We had already seen it. She saved him. The horrible hooker saved a life right in front of me. And I don't mean to call her that. I'm saying that's what everybody calls her, but not me. I think of her as one of my best friends. I watched her save a life one time. I was like, I don't know how to save somebody having a fucking heroin overdose or something like that. And she was like, I do. She fucking splashed him with water and started slapping his ass really fucking hard, like she was trying to kill him. And he was like, yeah, I'm up. Yeah. And that's what you got to do. If someone's overdosing, splash that. If you don't have Narcan, splash that fucking water in their fucking face. I watched it several times in my life. And get to slapping them like you're Will Smith and it's going out of style. Get to slapping them, shock them. Fucking wake them up. Get to slapping them like you want to break their bones. Because it's like, that's the only thing that's going to wake them up. They've got to shock themselves up out of that fucking narcoleptic sleep or their heart's going to stop, right? And so you gotta splash the water, start smack. Really, like, not to hurt them, but to shock them, get them, something's really fucking, you gotta shock them awake. You gotta shock them awake, because all you need is enough adrenaline in their heart to get their heart starting again, and they'll be like, okay, I'm here, I'm good, right? But so, and I've seen this like 6 times in my life. I've seen overdoses like 6 times in my life or something like that. And so while I was out of town, back in D-Town, brother that's still alive was in the prison for the high-speed chase, which he led particularly because he didn't want to get us lit up in it. You know what I'm saying? Because we had some business with him too. So to protect everybody, he just ran from him, and so he caught a 5-year bid for that, which was terrible. And he's out now, and he's a friend, and I've talked to him, but I mean, that's an old side of my life, right? So the other brother was so depressed when his brother was in prison and that he had lost his girlfriend, he essentially died by dope. He just, overdosed on heroin. He never had enough control to do heroin. We all knew it. He was a methamphetamine addict. That's how I met him. And when he touched the heroin the first time, I know sometimes they think they can. 9, 10, some people can. I've met many functioning junkies that lasted 50, 60, 70 years in their lifetime. No problem. But most of them, 9 out of 10 of them can't do that. Most of them die. So I lost my friend Alan. That was fucking terrible. It was just terrible. And with the heat from between the chase, and I lost my friend Alan, and then my friend A's dad went after her again, and she had to leave her whole situation for a bit. Like, I lost all of them in the space of, like, I don't know, 6 weeks or something. But we were set up. I mean, like, the whole thing was done. All the details, even the purchase had been lined up and everything. Like, a couple of days before we were set to do that, it had been laid down, and we had it all lined out and everything. Pretty much everybody just fell victim to some crazy circumstance. All of them, from a high-speed chase to the girl was the only one that managed to keep it together. The girl was the only one. The rest of them all either died, went to jail, or imploded. And that was sometime around like 2016, I think it was 17, somewhere around there. And the only reason I was looking at all of that is pretty much like, A back in Denver has never been homeless and has never been poor and was always a successful drug dealer, and I won't say anything more about them, but my hook in Denver has never had trouble except for her own family, and has always been successful, like, a massively successful. She's always made a lot of money from it. She's got the magic phone. She's always been successful. She's like the LA crack lady or whatever. She's always done really fucking well. And so, like, and when I had to tell her that one of my partners was dead and the other one was in jail, she was like, "We're not doing this." And I was like, "Yep." And that's the end of the story. And the only reason I ever considered doing any of that is the 2 brothers were homeless and living on couches for 7 years. Their parents had just abandoned them. They were both these crazy, awesome people that were like Kurt Cobain-esque people that were like super cool from the fucking Pacific Northwest. They were cool like Kurt Cobain. They were such cool people. I was so proud to be around them. They were badass, like, grunge kids and stuff. They were such cool people. They still are. I fucking love them. And so is she. She was one of the most badass women I ever met. And so is my lady back in D-Town, right? And I was like, oh no, this is the unholy union marriage of Denver to the West Coast and all this. And I was like, I will take over both of these fucking cities. And everybody believed that we could do it too. All 5 of those people were like, we can absolutely take it. Well, she had already done it. She owns the city. She owns Denver. I know somebody who owns Denver. She literally owns the city. She runs the business in Denver. She's the main. So, and like, but so, and it was weird. Like, everybody there believed very wholeheartedly that we were going to be 100% successful. We were going to take the risk. We were not scared of it in any way or form. We had it all lined up perfectly. I won't get into the details because it incriminates other people. But I mean, like, overall, the plan was fucking perfect. But then one died, one went to jail for 5 years, and the other one wouldn't do it because 2 of the 5 of us were like gone, And I still think of that as like the lost opportunity. It was the lost opportunity for me. It was the lost opportunity for them. When they lost it, like, one of them was dead and the other one was in jail. I mean, like, when they lost that opportunity, we all knew it. I was trying to save them. I was like, money will save these people. It will get them out of their terrible trailer park lives that are full of grunge and heroin and methamphetamine and shit and all that shit that Trevor represented in Grand Theft Auto 5 and all that. And I went there like fucking, like Grand Theft Auto. I went out there to the fucking trailer parks of the Pacific Northwest and I tried to save some fucking people exactly like Grand Theft Auto 5. It was exactly like that. Fucking juggalos. You know what I'm saying?
used.
But not dumb juggalos like you might find in like Denver that are kind of like sort of about being dumb culture. I'm talking about juggalos that just like ICP because they're so culturally literate. They liked all kinds of crazy fucking music, you know? They weren't juggalos. They were like, you know, hood people who had really good taste in fucking grunge and music and all this. And when I was playing like Silver Sun pickups or something, when he got in the car and he was like, "You're playing a B-side song." I mean, I never remember when Alan first got in my car, when I first met him, he was like, "You're playing a B-side song on a Silver Sun album." And I'm like, yeah, this is Future Foe Scenarios. This is my favorite song, man. And he was like, you know, I think we should be friends, and I think we should do, you know, they always do this to me. They're like, I think we should be friends. I think we should do business. I think we should fuck with each other. If it's a girl, she says, I think you should fuck me, right? Something about that when they realize that they like me and I'm actually their kind of person, and that I actually know the bands that they know, and then I hung out in the lower class all my life, and then I'm actually like them, they're like, they just open up and just twerk. They just twerk. I don't know what it is. They just twerk. Women do it. Dudes do it. I don't know why. They just do. When they realize that I actually did run like a drug circle, and I have been a kingpin, and I actually have done this stuff, they just twerk. They're just like, okay, I really like you, let's go hang out, I'll get you high and shit. Oh, you want to get me high? That's why I called you. Yeah, you know, yeah. So how much do you want? And I immediately say an 8-ball. And they immediately don't like that, and they immediately do like that, right? You say 8-ball. You don't ever say, I want to start with a gram. You say, I want to buy an 8-ball. And if you fuck me for $90, I'll find you. If you don't, then we'll fucks with each other, and I'll make you rich. That's what I always tell the dealers. I'll take an 8-ball, and you know, and we'll fucks with each other. And if you fuck with me or cut me, or if this shit isn't real, or you disappear, or whatever, then I never call you again, and you lose thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands. And I'm gonna prove this by starting off at $100 and just going higher from there. And they're like, really? And they're like, yeah, I'll take the 8-ball right off the bat. I just met you, but I'll take the fucking 8-ball because I need you to understand. I'm looking to buy an 8-ball every 3 days for the next goddamn whatever. Every 3 days for the next, you know, gram a day for, you know, keeps the doctor away for until either the fucking the you know, the rock bottom, or they kill me, one or the other, you know. So, and they're like, really? Yeah, I'll come every 3 days and I'll buy a $90 8-ball or whatever, right? That's how I used to go. That's how I used to start. Then I was the guy selling the 8-ball.
People worked in the city. Some of these people work with the councilman.
Yeah.
Some of these,
Some of these people are so good. Like your myths about the street. I think you should shut the fuck up about them. You fucking CNN, fucking Fox watching middle class fucking television, like Boondock Saints or whatever the fuck, right? Like, or Boondock people. Like, I'm sorry, but the middle class or whatever, like, you know, like the boonies, like what the boonies, you know, the sub, you know, you're the suburbs. You don't know shit about the fucking inner city street. You live in the fucking suburbs, and you live in a middle-class life. Daddy works in a cubicle probably, and mommy's on Valium, and you have, like, you know, and daddy's got 2.3 kids, and you probably have 2 or 3 cars and at least 1 house, and you're middle class. That's not the people I'm talking about. What the fuck do you know about homelessness and fucking the lower class? The middle class doesn't know shit about the lower class. Not at all. They do when they learn, when they fall down to the streets, but until that happens, and they actually come down to the tent shanty camps and join the rabble, like I did, right? And go native or whatever. I hate this fucking metaphor. I really do. I was always a Colorado native. I'm just saying, like, you know, saying, like, if you don't go native, what the fuck do you know about it? Don't talk about homeless people. You don't know shit about it. What the fuck does the middle class and CNN know about homelessness? Nothing.
No idea how much.
No idea. You're going to hear him say it over and over and over again. You guys have no idea. You have no idea what's going on down here. You have no idea what the real games are, the real games that the people are playing. And it's not always drugs at all. There's all kinds of nasty shit going down here. Fucking, you know, sex trafficking and pornography, drug dealing, child pederasty, fucking, you know, ripping each other off, house robberies, and all this other stuff. There's all this other stuff going on in the background. But one thing that you can say is they are doing things. They're not sitting around there like hippies getting high on heroin in the streets all day. Some of them are. But I mean, those bad eggs are the ones that stand out and give them all a bad name. The other people are all car camping right now. The good people are car camping right now. The tent people are the ones that have given up. The car people are the ones that haven't and are good people. Those are fellow Americans, and so are the people in the tents, too. You know, these are fellow Americans. They are not your fucking enemy.
Oh, they could miss me with that bullshit about
Miss
the
me with
drugs
that.
and all
Miss
that
me
shit.
with that.
That shit's a lie.
Miss me with that. It's
All
a lie.
that shit's
It
a
is.
lie.
Yeah.
Don't
Like
believe the hype.
we get high on the streets, but not all day, and not in some way that makes us like we're like permanent burnouts. No. We get high on the fucking streets like everybody the fuck else does when you're homeless and shit. But no, we don't do it all day. No. I never knew a hooker that was addicted to heroin that didn't stroll at least goddamn fucking 6 hours a day or something like that. Selling sex for 6 hours a day. Can you imagine? Like it's a job? You think these are the enemy? Do you think this is the enemy or something? Or that you need to ostracize them or attack them or call them something? No. These are the weakest link in your community. They are your brothers and sisters and family.
It's not true.
It's just not true. It's not like that. It's not like that down there. There's a lot of evil going on, but it's not entirely evil all the time, and it's not lazy. I wouldn't say it's lazy.
It's not true at all.
Yeah.
So, you think it's just a cost of living problem?
Yeah. It's just too expensive for people to eat. All my life, meals were between $3 and $5. What is a meal now? Like $14, and that was only been since the last 5 years. When are we going to wake up and see that the inflation killed this country? When is it going to happen? Or is it going to be 2077 or something like that? We wake up one day, finally, and we're like, oh man, everything is more expensive than we can afford. When is that going to happen? Is it 2077 or is it now? Because I vote now. I believe everything in this world is too expensive to afford now. We got to reset these prices and just stop letting them fucking stockpile that money like it's going out of style. I think we need to initiate a cap of like $200 million, and if you make any more than that, it just goes to the streets to fix all these problems. I think we have to put a cap in or something like that. I don't know what it is. I'm not saying that these people can't be capitalists and sell their porn and sex and dope and all the stuff that they sell. I'm really not. I'm really not saying they can't be capitalists. I'm not anti-capitalism. I am saying we take care of them and we pay them and we make sure that the community is taken care of and there is no weak members in this congregation. The entire country is a church. We are one congregation and there is no weak points in this congregation. We have to take care of them. We have to. And so, like, if they're weak, they would take care of... If they were not weak and they were strong, they would take care of us, but we don't take care of them. And these are veterans we're talking about, people who worked all their lives. These are not shiftless drug addicts who like, you know... Like, they wander the streets like the hatchet dude who smashes or whatever. It's not like that, man. That is not how homelessness is. It's a bad stereotype.
Oakland and go somewhere to Oklahoma where it's $700.
Well, you gotta understand this. This is their home.
Yeah.
Most of these people were raised here. Most of these people were born here. They shouldn't have to leave where they want to be. I shouldn't have to leave and go to
I should not have to leave to Denver to come here. I should not have to leave Denver to come here.
I should not. I'm from Ohio.
Yeah, I'm from Denver. I should not have to be on the West Coast, but I'm here because you raised the goddamn rent to fucking $1,980, like 1984, you fucking 1984 effets. Fuck you. Government cheese indeed. Let's raise the rent to $1,900. Let's see how the lower class survives that. Well, yeah, it turns out that you can't make $7 an hour at a shitty job or $10 an hour and still pay $1,900 for a crappy studio, you know? And what kind of life is that either? Are you expected to be in the crappy studio for 50 years while you work your surf job for, you know, $10 to $25 an hour or something like that? Maybe at the end of it, you're lucky and they just sell the place and kick you out on the streets. I mean, like they did us, you know? What kind of life is that for an American to pay $1,900 for a fucking crappy studio in some metro city all their lives? 24 grand a year, or how long is that? I mean, after 10 years, I mean, what is that? After 10 years, it's like, you know, 24 grand a year. After 4 years, it's 100 grand. So after 8 years, it's 200 grand. After 10 years, it's 250 grand. So after 40 years, that motherfucking citizen was basically just a matrix battery of rental money for some fucking aristocracy asshole who owns the land. I mean, isn't that essentially 1984? Isn't that essentially the Matrix? I mean, it is the Matrix. It's like, you want us to pay you $2,000 for a crappy studio for the rest of our fucking lives. Is that not that scene in The Matrix where all those pink vessels are being attached to a Matrix battery? What's the difference? It's like slavery. This version is slavery with extra steps. At least in The Matrix, you probably still get a good dopamine rush or get a win on your video game or something like that, you know? But like in this reality, like, you know, there's all these shitheads that are just like stomping you all the time, and you can't get a fair fight anymore, and there's, you know, the government's after you and the pigs are after you, and it's goddamn $250,000 every 10 years to live in some crappy fucking, you know, studio. You know, tiny houses are the best that you can hope for now, I guess. And what kind of life is that for an American?
I own than it is here, but I love.
And like all these landlords laugh their way to the billions of banks out there, and I'm just like, I see the problem. Eat the rich, feed the poor, till there is no rich no more. To quote the great 10 Days After, you know? And I don't know how we do that. I think it's that we initiate a salary cap where, yeah, if you hit $200 million in this country, I think it's fair to say that you can buy whatever you want, unless you're a business concern or a conglomerate. I think that's a little different. But if you are an individual billionaire, I believe I want that money. I believe I want to take that $800 million. I know that won't even fix all the problems in the world. I don't. But I want to take it and I want to just build out in some, you know, okay, out towards on Pena Boulevard in Colorado is a bunch of dead land between the airport DIA and Denver, Colorado, right? I want them to turn all of it into housing. Either that or give the homeless the empty houses that we already have. Either that, I need you to open up a humongous like 50-mile block in right west of the fucking, you know, right by the airport. Right by the airport, that has all these amenities, that have like, you know, like wonderful baths, and every fucking unit has 3 bedrooms and shit, so the people can expand their families if they want to, and all this. What the fuck happened to you? This used to be all, you know, all for one for all in America. Now it's the rich fucked us on rent again, and it's only them. There's no us anymore. It's just them. There's either them charging us too much for rent, and there's us who are dying. You know, like what happened to All for One or My Fellow Americans or anything like that? What the fuck happened here? You raised the rent way too much fucking high, way too high.
I love California. I love
California. I love fucking Colorado. I love the state that I live in now. But I will not, and you know, I was not supposed to be here. I was a Colorado native. You kicked me out of my hometown. I feel like goddamn Thorin in the fucking Hobbit movies, and I have found work amongst men while I figure out what to do while you charge $2,000 for a studio. I can't pay it. I couldn't pay. I don't even think entertainers can pay it, really. It's insane. It's, you know, I can't pay it. I can't pay you 24 grand a year. I'd have to be making, you know, 60 grand a year or something like that. I didn't go to college. You fucking kicked me out of it for non-completion. I don't know what else to do. Like, you've been running scams across every single, like, you know how you talked about threads and they all connect and then they give you the lifeline so you can get out of there and stuff? At every single lifeline, I saw kibitzing from rich people that fucked me in the ass and shut down every opportunity that I had. I had to dig myself out of this, and as it is, I live in a $37,000 home. $37,000. And I love this motherfucker, and I will kill to protect it. I will die to protect this motherfucker. It is the greatest possession I've ever had. I'll show up with a shotgun and a pistol, and I will waste anybody who ever threatens it. I don't care. I love this fucking home. I had to fight all my life to get a $30,000 home. I must have worked 30,000 hours. I worked 30,000 hours, something like that. You don't believe me? Look at my YouTube. There's 12,000 hours right on my YouTube. You know what I'm saying? I have worked 30,000 hours for a $30,000 home. I will not be your Matrix battery anymore. I will not pay your Matrix battery prices on rent. I will not be your fucking Matrix battery anymore. I'll kill you first.
Why should I have to leave? Because
I'll kill you first. Why should I have to leave my native home? I would love to feel for Ukraine and all the refugees of Israel and Palestine and all this. And I do feel for them, right? I would love to feel more than I do. But I have a cold heart when it comes to that, because I've been done kicked out of my native land. Right up here in America, I can't imagine what it's like for them there. I mean, I got a cold heart when it comes to that because I've been done kicked out of my native land. I can't fuck the native girl that I love. I can't live in my native land. I can't pay the rent in the place that I grew up. I feel like you basically stole America, kicked us all out of the cities, and pretty much just, matrix batteried the rent. And you don't need Hitler or the Holocaust or any kind of war. I think you basically just did commit World War III, and it's the rent.
But you want to put rent control on hold and push us into the street.
Yeah, like what? I mean, he's at church. I mean, yeah,
it's not fair.
It's not fair. Fuck you guys. I'll take your mansions.
Are they going to ever fix it?
I'll take your mansions, and not because I want them to sell them and use them for money and stockpile like you fucking richer piece of shit morons. I'll take your mansions so I can put homeless people in them. Fuck your McMansion. Fuck the G-Ride. Fuck the McMansions. I want the machines that are making them. I need to produce homes for people, for homeless people. You done kicked all of the fucking lower and the middle class out on the fucking streets. I intend to save them. And you're going to be like Skycat. How do you solve the drug addiction problems? How do you solve the listlessness and the fentanyl and all the rape crisis and all this stuff, right? Well, I can tell you what one person did, which is get a whole temple full of ex-addicts who have now gotten clean because they got the help from each other, who are 110% completely motivated to live in that commune with those other drug addicts and help them recover. I believe that God's cure for drug addicts are other drug addicts who have recovered. And I have seen proof of 100% completionist rate of rehab in Italy in a documentary about a person called Neil Sampat, who was the Italian hippie guy who was like a billionaire who was rich, who opened a commune because he saw that there was all these Italian heroin addicts in the 70s, and it just tore Italy apart. And so he was like, how do I solve this? And he's like, well, I want to help them, but I don't know what to do. So I'm just going to get them to a place, and I'm going to feed them and water them and tell them not to get high and pray that they'll listen to me. And that's what he did, right? And so they did. And they did listen to him. And they didn't go get high. And they got sober. They wanted to get sober from heroin. They did. And they took his help, and they took his food, and they took his shelter. And and one day they woke up like 3 weeks later, and they're looking to help other people. They wake up from the fucking, they wake up from the addiction. And they're like, oh my God, you saved my life, and you gave me a second chance, and now I want to save other people. And he pulled 100% rehab completion rate that way for 26 years. He pulled 100%. There was not a relapse for 25 years or something like that. And then they went after him for running a sex cult. So I guess the moral of the story is when you save tens of thousands of junkies' lives, they love you like a sex god, and they want to fuck you and worship you because you saved their lives, right? So he kind of abused it. It was kind of sad. It was a cult story in the end. But we did see that for 25 years, the heroin recidivism rate was basically zero. The addicts didn't go back to it, and when they went to his commune, it was called, I forget the name of it. It's a very good documentary on Netflix, but I can't remember the name because I have brain damage and stuff. So my theory is to if they won't give me the empty houses that they don't use, right? If they won't give me the empty houses they don't use because they can't sell them because they ask too much money or they charge too much rent. If they won't give me those empty houses, I'll just force them to fucking build a giant tract outside of DIA that'll house like 300,000 people or something like that. And I'll just build the Neil Soundpot fucking place again, except I'll never go there, and I'll never become a sex idol or a cultist or a fucking cult leader or any of that shit. I'll just make sure that it's all paid for and fucking fix them. And I'll have them all cure for each other. And for 30 years, I'll have them systematically build the same 4 generations that we've had be heroin, crack cocaine and speed addicts and stuff, right? And every drug known under the sun, and alcoholism and all this other stuff, right? And I'll treat them with ibogaine, which cures drug addiction. I'll get them through those things with psilocybin and mental health stuff and marijuana and holism and stuff. And I know it sounds like some crazy fucking Akon dream that'll never happen, and it is, but all I'm talking about is an apartment complex. They build apartment complexes all the fucking time. I want to build a massive apartment complex that's huge, that stretches for like as big as Denver or something like that just houses all of these disenfranchised people. And I want to see what they can do with 3 solid meals 3 solid showers a day, and love and respect and community loving and all the stuff, community support and all this, and I want to take them off those fucking streets, and I'll get them connected with mental health therapists and all this other shit, and I want to make a massive movement to counteract the March of the Bastards, World War III apocalypse that is raising the rent to $2,000. What fucking American do you know can spend $2,000 a month on rent? Who do you know that can actually pay that? Maybe your parents, I'd say. Do you know anybody who makes $2,000 a month for just rent? Not to mention the transportation to the job to make the rent, and the food and the water and the healthcare and the the video game costs and everything else in our lives, right? Do you really think that you know anybody who actually makes more than like $2,000 a month? Because I don't know. I don't. I think I do know people like that who are in the middle class, but I'm talking about the lower class. I don't know anybody in the lower class who has $2,000 a month for rent, so now we just need to give them housing. If you're not going to lower that fucking rent, which I think is an easier thing to do, you're still going to make money. But if you're going to battle it with me, I'll take the property from you. You have been too greedy. You have been thieves in the temple with all of this property and all of these cars. There are more cars than people now. That is ridiculous. Give them to people who actually need them to get to jobs. I don't know what to do with you. Your surplus has killed humanity. I don't know what to do with your surplus stockpile. Conservative fucking beliefs. I don't know what the fuck to do with them. They have killed humanity. I'm sorry, but you have. There are more cars and more empty houses than there is people now. Your fucking plastic fantastic capitalist fucking push is absolutely fine as long as you don't leave your own people behind while you're doing it. I don't care what money you make. I'm not anti-capitalist. I'm talking about you have not treated your weakest links well, and that will kill our entire culture. If the lower class despises the middle and the upper class so much so that we want to kill you, like literally kill you, that's probably what's going to happen. Have you ever considered it? So, like, understand, that's probably what's going to happen. I'm not threatening you with it. I'm just saying, what happens if you continue to just stomp all over the lower class with $2,000 a month rent, and inflation's only going up, prices are only going up, they're not going down. So what happens if you just keep stomping them in with more and more rent and more homelessness and more problems? You don't think they might eventually just come kill you? You need to take your fucking boot off our necks and let us breathe. I can't breathe. You need to lower that rent, bitch. Lower that rent, thief. Lower that rent. The rent is too damn high, party. I represent the rent is too damn high, party. The rent is too damn high. You cast out an entire generation of goddamn fucking dwarves from the fucking mountain. You cast out an entire generation of dwarves from the fucking mountain. Why? Because they couldn't pay for their mountain home? It's their mountain home. They're Americans. What do you mean they can't pay for their home? They're Americans. It's their home. They own this country. What do you mean they can't pay the rent? What do you mean? You have fucked us for too long. I would like to see you burned for it. I'd like to burn the upper class. I won't if you fucking bail out now and cut that cord and fucking pull parachute cord out of that fucking thievery that you're engaged in and lower those prices so we can live, maybe make a people's car and actually do some infrastructure shit instead of just letting Lahaina burn or whatever, Paradise burn like you have been. Like, I don't know, man. Like, I don't know. Or we can just come take it from you. The greatest question I've ever heard posited in my life was why the LA neighborhoods burned their own neighborhoods. Why didn't they just go over to Rodeo Drive about 45 minutes over and actually get out of the poverty? Why did they burn the LA projects when they were pissed at those cops? They should have gone and burned Rodeo and actually fixed the problem. If they were to have gone and burned Rodeo and taken everything from them, they wouldn't have had a ghetto anymore. And they'd have been justified in doing so. The pigs have been killing our black people. The goddamn white fucking landlords are charging $19.84 for studios and stuff. They would be rightfully in doing so. These people have been acting like full-blown Satan. These rich people have been acting like Satan. Full-blown. I can't think of another fucking apt metaphor for it. There's no other fucking figure in, Beelzebub, our rich people are Beelzebub now, and I don't know why we shouldn't burn you. Give us a reason not to. Why shouldn't we go to Rodeo Drive or 16th Street and hit the Saks Fifth Avenue? Why shouldn't we? You've been stealing that money for so fucking long. You either got to cut that rent and get these farmers subsidized and get that food on the fucking table and stop starving us and fucking rent crisising us and bank crisising us and shit. Or we could just come and take everything you've got. You know what always happens. Remember Louis the 14th? Shall we go learn about Louis the 14th on my channel for these rich people who seem to think they can have their cake and eat it too? Because no. Let's go learn about Louis the 14th and what happens to people like Trump if they just laugh their way to the fucking bank all day instead of paying the serfs that fucking put them where they're at, you know? Instead of lowering the rent in their fucking slumlord piece of shit burned down apartments and stuff so we can actually live long enough to be their serfs, you know? Jesus fucking Christ, man. Are you wicked? I think you are. Yeah, so the Absolute Monarchy Crash Course is pretty much what I was looking for, but we are looking for Louis the 14th, right? He was the richest asshole in history, pretty much. He was really morally fucking bankrupt. Probably totally a butt sex guy. Definitely probably gay and definitely bi and definitely rich. Really, really rich. Probably a horrible, horrible cocaine addict and definitely pederast. Definitely very, very rich. He had the church wrapped around his finger to the point where every time he fucked a child or another woman and committed adultery or something like that, the church demanded that if he wanted to keep his position as king of France, he had to donate land to the church. And this is how, through his own fucking pederasty and morality, sound familiar? Sound like Jeffrey and Trump and all this? I think it does. All through his own decadence and bullshit. That you think Trump's good? I don't know. I've never met a rich person that was totally good. No. And so, you know, and so, yeah. So he went on about his business for about 50 years, just assuming that he could just milk 99% tax rate out of the people, spend it all on gold, cocaine, and hookers, and just live off the fat of the fucking land and spend it all on gold and give all of the state's land to the church every time one of like some mistress or some fucking, you know, court fucking like, and he constantly had court fanciers who would tell the church what he was doing. And when he cheated on his wife or slept with a child like Jeffrey and Trump and all this, right, or Bill Gates or whatever, they would demand that he would give 5% of what the king's land was in France. And this is how the church came to own 95% of all of France for about a 200-year period in the 1600s to 1800s. The church owned 95% of the land in France. And this is because of Louis XIV, one of your aristocracy, meritocracy, fucking cocksucking rich assholes laughing their way to the demon bank all day, like the rich people who charged $19.84 for rent. Right? All day. That 1984 for rent thing, that's right where Louis XIV lived. That was his main hustle, was raising the rent. Watch. And so, like, and trust me, we've seen this all before. 500 fucking years ago, we've seen the cocaine, we've seen the fucking gay sex, we've seen all the debauchery, and then I'm not to say the gay sex is debauchery, but I'm talking about like the orgies and the you know the Gatsby stuff, all that Gatsby stuff, right? I'm not trying to be after gay people. I love gay people. I'm not trying to be homophobic. I'm talking about like the butt sex, the dirty sort of, you know, luxury sort of indulgent sex that rich people have with stuff like hookers and stuff like all that dirtiness that they kind of get up to, all the drugs and the hookers and the child pederast stuff and all this, right? That's all been done before. We've had it 600 years ago. They think it's all being done now, and it's just the first time that they've all been Gatsby or whatever the fuck. But no, we've had this for hundreds of fucking years. The aristocracy fucking the lower and the middle class out of their rent until we essentially burn the Bastille, kill the king, chop off his fucking head with a fucking guillotine, and declare anybody like him, whoever acts like this ever again, gets the guillotine as well. Now watch. And that's what I believe should happen to these rich assholes who are charging $19.84 for a fucking studio. It's $19.84, all right. It's time to maybe burn your fucking ass and take the land back from the fucking church or whatever. I'm using, you know, metaphors and stuff. Like, I'm not saying that we need to hurt the church. I'm not. I'm saying maybe it's time that we guillotine Trump and guillotine Biden and all the rich people and restore that money back to the people where it fucking belongs. Maybe we need to burn Rodeo instead of the LA projects. You get my fucking metaphor here? Because then we wouldn't be poor anymore, would we? They wouldn't be able to stomp all over us anymore, would we? So every time they raise the rent and the gasoline goes up another 10 cents or whatever, and they just raise that inflation and say sorry, you know, or whatever, and they just throw their hands up and be like, oh, it's gone. Oh, and you don't like this, do you? You don't like it when your money's gone, do you? Oh, and it's gone, you know, and it's gone, right? That kind of behavior and shit. Yeah. How long till we come and chop off your fucking head and take your McMansion, huh? You keep treating us like this?
King from the age of 4.
Would come storm the Bastille.
Louis XIV would become one of the most famous and longest reigning monarchs in French.
Maybe you didn't read books or go to school or pay attention or whatever, but I fucking did. And I don't want to repeat the fucking history.
Anne of
Guillotine them early.
Austria, whose Louis XIV's mother nominally ran the country while he was a small boy. But there was
Don't let them infest us with their parasites.
He really had the reins of government. He was kind of a despot, and he was very manipulative.
Oh yeah, he was a horrible man.
An uprising called Le Fronde forced him to flee from Paris. Le Fronde ended in 1653, and Louis was crowned in 1654.
It's Trump, but, you know, the French version of Trump. It's the exact same thing. He was a billionaire. Daddy handed him down all the money. He was the king. He was a total fucking wife cheating fucking, you know, pederast type. He had all this money, and he just sat there, and they constantly chased him out of town and threatened him with jail and beheadings and stuff like this, like Trump's getting right now. They constantly chased him like this because it's Satan mixed with Scrooge the Duck, right? It's Satan mixed with Scrooge the Duck. That's Louis XIV. That's Trump, and to a lesser degree, Biden. Biden's never probably worked for a real meal in his life, I would say. I imagine maybe when he was younger, yeah, like maybe between the ages of like 16 to maybe 24, he probably did some honest work in his life. But remember, he's been up in that fucking do-nothing Congress for 40 years, getting fed 3 meals a day, you know. And yeah, I'm kind of sick of them living off the fat of the land like Louis XIV, you know, Louis the XIV.
The nobility who rebelled against the
is
crown.
what they called him in France. Louis the XIV, I think is what they said. Yeah.
He chose to live.
Isn't that 14? It's XIV, what's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10, 4, right? So, and then 14, or no, so is it 14? 14 is 14. I'm sorry. It's like 11, 12, or say it's 11, 12, 13, 14, I think, something like that. Count to 20 in French, right? Count to 20 in French. Let's hear it. I'm here to educate you guys to not be shitty richers like fucking Trump, and don't ever fucking drop his name, fucking traitors. Don't ever fucking drop that traitor's name. Fuck that asshole. That fucking rich senator's son who's never worked a day in his fucking life. You like that fucking idiot? What the fuck's wrong with you? Get a fucking clue. Piece of shit. Little Leichman, low education, like, you know, brain slave. You've been brain slaved by rich idiots, and now you're their matrix battery. I really believe that. I believe if you're supporting Trump, you're full-blown, like, drinking the battery juice. You know what I'm saying? Drinking the battery Kool-Aid, you know? If you think that rich man represents you, you are so fucking stupid. Well, I mean, I knew that, so I guess, well, here we are. Absolute monarchy, crash course. Now, what happened here? You just, did it end, or, so I want to hear the actual history, right? Because I don't want to repeat this shit. Yeah, here we go. So, oversimplified is good. This I think we watched this before, but Louis XIV was all up in the French Revolution. Yeah.
New French Revolution merch available now.
And if you don't know about French Revolution or the fall of Rome, you won't be able to survive America.
Net character pins, complete with detachable heads, just like the real thing. So I said to the Marquis de la Fufayette, "What do you think I am? Some dirty peasant? I've never worked a day in my life."
And this is how he used to say that. He was recorded saying this in court. You know, this isn't some like this. He actually says this.
That Marie Antoinette sure is pretty. Sure is. Wouldn't want to be Prince Louis, though. That's going to be a lot of responsibility when he becomes king, especially since France is in financial ruin. Quite. Thank you one and all for attending the royal marriage of my grandson, the future...
Oh man, that's what we need in America in total financial ruin, essentially, after the banking crisis and COVID, right? We really need another rich man telling us what to do. Yeah, that seems wise. You know, one that's never held fucking public office.
To the Archduchess of Austria. Now for the very...
But I mean, hey, let the idiots are gonna idiot. Yeah, let the idiots idiot, I guess. God loves idiots, or we wouldn't have had Trump for 4 years.
Accurate part of the ceremony, where we all watch him get into bed together.
Yeah, and I mean, what's the difference between this guy and Trump? There's no difference. They're the same thing. Where do you think he got his playbook from? This. Who do you think taught all these rich people to act, right?
All right, now that's out of the way. Let's leave the royal couple to it. You better give us an heir, you fat, ill-bred boy. Nighty-night. That's gonna be a lot of responsibility. France is in financial ruin. You fat, ill-bred boy. Quite. That's gonna be a lot of responsibility. France is in financial ruin. You fat, ill-bred boy. That's gonna be a lot of responsibility.
This is what they do to Trump, too. This is exactly what they do to Trump. Do you see it? Exactly. And this is what he does, too.
Oh, great. He's a freaking weirdo. France, the most prosperous, cultured, and beautiful nation in the world, as it had been for centuries. An exquisite social culture, with the king and the upper classes throwing crazy parties every night, enjoying high living and fine dining. Who cares that they were only able to do so off the backs of the hard-working, starving poor? What are they gonna do? Revolt?
Yeah, what are we gonna do? I mean, like, Trump's been riding on our fucking shit. Like how much in taxes did he steal? It was like 160 million. What does he owe me in taxes? Is it like fucking? What does Trump owe me personally in stolen taxes? Is it like, you know, $300 or something? He owes every American a lot of tax money. He's dodged like $200 million in taxes. Like, and they know this. They've been after him for it for like 20 years. Like,
80% of the population. No. Life in France is great. What's that, France? You want to go to war with Britain and increase your power? Go for it, little buddy. You do you. And you lost. Now you're in severe financial debt. We have no money. What do? Should we stop partying? Heck no. Party harder. That's okay. The peasantry will pick up the slack. They were
KFC, shoot up bleach.
Created by God to do all the work, and you were created to reap all the benefits and party hard. That's just how society works.
Stormy Daniels, and
We'll just accepted it for centuries. Why? Why what?
I hate being smart. I hate it. I wish I could kill my brain with drugs, but these fucking fascists fucked that up too.
The nobility get to be all rich and stuff just because they were born into it, and the rest of us schmucks just have to accept that?
I hate having to explain the class war to a fucking Trumper. I don't think I'm gonna succeed. I think they're too dumb. Maybe I think they've drank the Kool-Aid for too long. But I can explain. Yeah.
Who decided that? It all just seems very unfair and unequal.
I can explain the class war if you need me to. If you didn't understand that it existed, it does. And the rich people don't like us, and Trump is their king. Does that break it down simple enough?
And I, for one, am starting to question it.
Anybody who supports him is a fucking traitor. Like, straight up, man. You want to back those rich people who would rather see you on your fucking knees? What are you, a fucking piece of shit? You like backing richers who fuck your own countrymen over? Get busted and impeached for fucking insurrection and shit like this? spend, you know, life in court for 200 felonies and all this. You really think you need that guy?
It's very
You really think that makes America look good?
enlightened of you.
Say what you want about Biden. He doesn't have any felonies. At least not yet.
And so began the Age of Enlightenment. Great philosophical thinkers across France and beyond began to
I wouldn't mind if you did.
question whether this beautiful nation was really all that beautiful after all. Hey, Prince Louis, bad news. Your grandpop died of smallpox this morning, which
Oh, good. Smallpox. Yeah, let's all party during the time of smallpox and COVID. That seems wise.
means good news, you're now the king. So just to sum up, France is in severe financial debt, and the angry populace are beginning to question how necessary...
Now, do you notice a reoccurring theme of somebody has to come and tell him this because he hasn't come home to his own constituency or his own zone in 25 years or something like that? So every time that there's a problem, some servant has to come up to his goddamn little, you know, his little Oval Office or his little, like, Mar-a-Lago or whatever, and has to tell him that there's problems. Because they never go anywhere. They're rich people. They don't do anything. They hold court all day.
I believe in you, champ.
So the servants have to come tell them that their country is in disarray. It's disgusting. It's been like that for 700-800 years or something. I think America's like that. We have to go tell the government sometimes that we're in disarray. They don't seem to know. It's insane.
Maybe. Oh, no. Prince...
Oh, no. I love it when he does that. Oh, no. I love the comedy in here. The comedy, this guy is so good. Oversimplified is so fucking funny. He's actually like one of the funniest people on YouTube. Like, I wish I had this kind of natural humor. He's like, oh, no, because it's South Park. He's going South Park. He's doing total South Park fucking like old cartoon styles, and he's doing it extremely well.
Became King Louis XVI in May 7th.
If you weren't raised on old Looney Tunes, a lot of his humor probably misses you. But those of us who know who Chuck Avery are, or you know Fritz Freleng, or any of those any of those Warner Brothers boys that made all the Looney Tunes, Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck and all that, right? If you were raised by 50s fucking Warner Brothers cartoons like me. Why couldn't they get better cartoons until the 90s? Anyway, if you were raised on 50s cartoons like me, all this humor is fucking hilarious to you because it's always usually British, and it's like, oh no, it's like it's all cringe. Usually, it's actually very funny and like only a true like really older boomer would know how to wield this humor like this because it's reminiscent of old cartoon funnies from the 20s and shit like that. You'd have to do a lot of cultural study to be this funny with his mannerisms, but he nails it perfectly. Probably because he has a crew. He probably has a big crew, probably 7 people or something like that.
Notoriously weak man. And
it kind of seems like one person might be doing every drawing or something, actually.
He knew it. He barely had the wisdom to...
Because they aren't drawing well, but they're also like doing it really well with getting the point across, and they're and like I wonder maybe if they're all like kind of taking 1/7 of a share of a production value on this, because there always seems to be like 7 people on the screen or something like that, and they all seem to be different artists, because this does not look like the same artist to me as this for some reason. It's weird. Like they're totally the same goddamn thing. But I think this is a separate artist. This is a separate artist. I'm fairly sure. Something about it. The hair is the same person. No, it's not. No, it's not. No, it is not. That is not the same person. These are separate artists. So who, I mean, do a bunch of artists get together and do the same frame or something with this? But it's all digital.
A nation, never mind one in crisis. And
he's got a big old crew to do a cartoon like this. He wanted to employ a bunch of people and get famous and actually pay them to do political humor on fucking, YouTube. And it's a dream that I actually really respect because he's succeeded. He like got a crew together and did all these cartoons. One person probably can't do this without spending a year or something like that.
Manipulated by those around him. One of his first acts was to try to get revenge on the British by financing their American colony's revolution. Hey, we're an independent nation now. That was real swell of you, Louis. Couldn't have done it without you. Glad I could help. So hey, about all that money we lent you, when can we get that back? Yep, you're a great guy. I'll never forget what you've done for us. Real glad I could help, friend, but about that money, gotta go now, chum. Best of luck to you. Oh, no. And now
Oh no! That old 50s humor is so funny.
France was in even more debt.
We've watched this on my channel before, but I mean, it's like we're living this out right now as we speak. I think we're headed towards another it's an industrial revolution, but instead of machines, it's AI, right? The new industrial revolution is AI, and we're all about to repeat this. We are repeating it right now, and that's the comment I'm going to leave on the video, right? Is the new industrial revolution is AI. The new industrial revolution is AI, right? And I'm going to leave a 2024 comment because in 10 years I'll come back to this and I'll be like, oh, I forgot I left this comment when I was like 40 or whatever. So the new industrial revolution is AI, right? The new industrial revolution is AI. Trump is Louis the 14th. Louis the 14th. We didn't learn. We backslid and we're repeating. Yep, and that's why I came here.
Suffering under the strain of economic ruin, watched as the nobility continue to live as though nothing.
Yeah, well, I mean, Trump represents those billionaires. He's the king of the billionaires. I'm dead serious. Trump is the king of the billionaires and stuff, and you respect that fucking richer asshole that's been shitting all over us all of our lives? Are you wicked? Are you stupid?
Was wrong. In particular, they grew increasingly.
I'm talking about the worst, most decadent, fucked up, like moralists, you know, fucking totally like no moral fucking compass at all. Currently in a fucking like court case for sleeping with a porn star around on his wife, you know, and it's like, I'm sorry, but at what point was this guy your hero? You know, at what point do you recognize that he's a criminal that led us through the next industrial revolution, and that we basically need to chop his head off now? He like this guy, he did not lead us to a good place. He brought even more aristocracy and even more meritocracy. You know, he brought nothing but rich men causing problems, and he set us back like 500 years with race relations, which might happen, which might be really bad if we're headed towards war. You know, boy, Trump loved to shit on the country of Mexico, didn't he? But imagine if somebody actually ever attacked us, and Mexico's like, should we help them? And they're like, absolutely, fuck no. And I'm sorry, but I lie awake at night thinking stuff like this. Like, boy, you really like to take those shots at the Mexicans in the border and all that. But I mean, that's our neighbor. And you talk a lot of shit about our fucking neighbor. If the dude across, I'm going to use a House MD metaphor for the idiots out there. If you fucking piss off the neighbor, and then you piss off the guy across the water, like across the river, and he fires a cannon at your house, your neighbor might not help you if you basically called them a rapist murderer and kicked them out of your country and persecuted their people and basically morally browbeat them for fucking 10 years or something like that. You ever considered that we might need Mexico, you fucking pieces of shit? I mean, we do need them. They comprise like 60% of our population. We need them. And I'm sorry, setting us back with Americo Mexicana, or whatever the fuck you want to call this, Americo Mexicana relations, or whatever the fuck you want to call this, right? 500 fucking years with your idiot wall and your comments about rapists and murderers and your fucking treatment of their kids on the border and all this like full-blown dog whistle racism towards Latino and Latina people. You don't think we might need our neighbor maybe at some point? You ever actually thought about the concept of diplomacy? Sure, you might not like someone, but you don't fucking tell them. if you're in international fucking, cahoots with them, maybe, maybe they're in your NATO alliance and shit like this. Maybe you don't, maybe talk so much shit about them like a fucking poorly educated Louis the 14th, richer asshole. I don't care what the public thinks about Mexicans. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about if the King of England decides to come over here again or whatever, and we're suddenly in a fucking American Revolutionary War again or something like that. You think Mexico is gonna like us when we need them? I don't know. I think we might need Mexico really fucking badly. I think I might really love them, like Canada, and I think they might really be our beloved neighbors. And you calling them those names and treating them like that and setting us back in relations 500 fucking years like that, I think it was actually really goddamn fucking bad. Like maybe hang you in the streets bad. We need their esteem. We need these people. And you and your lack of education, your lack of goddamn reading the Constitution, your lack of respect of other people of other ethnicities, your lack of respect for our fucking neighbors, your lack of respect for our laws, your lack of respect for the sanctity of marriage, the lack of respect for the fucking journalists in this world, all the stuff that you did to us. It's all Louis the 14th. It's all like a rich white person behaving badly.
Marie Antoinette, as she continued to spend all of France's money on her own luxurious lifestyle and fashion, while the peasants were breaking their backs in the fields, she was walking around like, hey,
you should take that Rolls Royce to your fucking court date while we slave away on fentanyl in the fucking streets, Donald Trump. Sound familiar? How many Rolls Royces do you own, Donald Trump? Let's go Google. How many Rolls Royces does Trump own? More than one. So, yeah.
my hair is a boat. I'm not making that up.
My hair is a boat. She made her hair into a boat. Yeah. How much money did that cost? That seems like it took 5 hairdressers 8 hours or something. And I mean, do you pay those people or are they just your servants? I mean, do they make money for sitting there for 5 hours turning your hair into a boat?
It was a boat, and her lavish spending earned her the nickname Madame Deficit. And speaking
Yeah, the deficit was entirely all of our billionaires.
of the Queen, there was also
Our deficit is entirely our billionaires, pretty much.
a long-standing scandal around the fact that the king took a very long time to boink her, and the working classes of Paris began ridiculing the royal couple with lewd
No
pamphlets
child,
depicting the
no
Queen as a
child.
court thought, and the king
You're
as
a
a
court
wuss,
thought.
unable to fulfill his marital duty. Respect for the monarchy was at an all-time low, as France's finances were spiraling out of control. And the
Because
king-
he was drunk and high and eating all this fucking rich people food, so he had gout and he was sick, and he was like, he had the drug addict problem where he can't get it up and all that because he's a rich person who's fat. It gets drunk and on drugs. I've been there. Not rich person, but I'm talking like I've been a fat person who got drunk and did drugs and stuff. And yeah, it turns out if you're like fat and old and you're like sedentary and you do drugs all the time and you drink all the time, yeah, you have erectile dysfunction a lot, Now I haven't had that lately. Been sober for 5 years, but when I was like right at the end towards the goddamn rock bottom, I am not ashamed to admit that I could not perform sexually. I was so high and so fucked up all the time and so exhausted, emotionally exhausted, that performing sexually just never would have been possible. I was so depressed and fucked up over the loss of my love life and it just would have been impossible, but not anymore. Now, when I was 33, one day I had sex with 3 different women and I masturbated 17 times. Meth is a hell of a drug.
solution to the crisis. Tax the poor. Tax the poor. We could do a sexy calendar shoot. Tax the poor. And so it was. The poor, who were already struggling to make ends meet, found them. Yourselves being taxed from every direction.
I had a girlfriend once. She liked to masturbate with me. We did this a lot.
Hey, I'm the royal tax collector. Looks like you.
She liked masturbation more than sex, and so do I. But I like sex a lot though too. But I prefer masturbation over sex because I just know more of what I like, you know, than they do, unless they've been with me for a long time. So I just would prefer masturbation over sex. But I love sex. I've had a lot of it. I like fucking a lot. You know, it's my favorite thing. But you know, I don't need it anymore. I'm like I guess you could call it like male whatever it's called when women have menopause, right? I have like male menopause. It's like that middle-aged fat drug addict body problem where you're just like not doing so good. You kind of look like a potato. You're a little bit fat and you're old, you know. Got that problem, but I'm working on it.
Pay your income tax.
Ooh, it's the
head
dawn,
tax.
which
By the
means
way,
that I think I get to go to bed soon. What time is it? Oh, good. It's been 9.5 hours, which is good. So I'm gonna do this for 5 more hours. I'm gonna do this for 5 more hours, and then I'm gonna walk for a while, probably like an hour, and then I'm gonna sleep.
Windows you got in that house of yours? 3?
Probably get on tonight around like 9, something like that.
Oof. Yep.
Oh, yeah. Maybe it might rain today, actually. Yeah. Maybe I better shut my door. It's fucking freezing in here, and it looks like it's gonna rain. Maybe I don't walk. We'll see. Yes, so anyways, Louis the 14th, right? We've all done this before. We'll all do it again. We didn't learn from the mistakes last time, so now we're doomed to repeat, and history repeats itself, and Trump has become Louis the 14th of America. And the Industrial Revolution is here, and it is AI. And so for some reason, we let our fucking meritocracy here, or aristocracy here, whatever the fuck you want to call it. I mean, there are our rich people here. We let our rich people get decadent and shitty and really kind of unpleasant, like Louis the 14th. We let that happen in America and in every other country in the world too. And this is not good for the human race. It leads to terrible things like the French Revolution and all this. When the rich people won't stop stealing the money, it's to the point where you've got to basically chop off their heads to get it to stop. And we didn't learn last time. We didn't like Trump didn't ever get an education, so he doesn't know about Louis the 14th. And if he does, he doesn't care because he doesn't care about us. He doesn't care about you. He doesn't care about anybody. He only cares about money. So now we have the Industrial Revolution, the French Revolution in America again. We're going to have a revolution in America again. I don't think it's going to be bloody this time. I think the rich people are going to win this time. The rich people didn't win during the French Revolution, but I think they're going to win this one. If we don't stop them. If all the little Eichmanns think that Trump's cool or whatever because he's white or whatever, like, that's a bad thing because you're kind of putting Scrooge McDuck, who already has so much power and so much money that he doesn't need the presidency, you're kind of making Scrooge McDuck our president. And that's not too good. Rich men don't have good morals. Consult Jeffrey's Black Book if you don't believe me.
Local priest here. Have you paid your church tithe yet? Well, at least this one is going to the good work of God. Sure. God. I think this year God wants me to buy a new swimming pool. Hey, private tax collector here. Oh, and I brought some goons with me. Just a few quick questions. How much salt did you buy this year? About 7 kilos, I think? Yep. Okay, there's gonna be a tax for that. Oh. What's that over there? And that's extra salt I held over from last year, so I wouldn't have to buy as much this year. Oh, yeah, there's a tax for that. And what are you doing with all this salt? Well, obviously cooking. Mm-hmm. On the table. Yep. And preserving fish and meat. Oh no. Yep. and there's a tax for that. Hey, how old is he? He's 9.
And America is the same. By the way, if you want to use salt to cure meats in America as a business that sells beef jerky, there's a tax for that. Guaranteed. And this is because of people like Trump. Not because of people like me.
His required amount of salt, right? What? No, he's 9. Uh-oh. Sorry, little looks like I'm gonna have to tax you for that.
I'm gonna tax you for that. Aww.
Yep. Salty. There's gonna be a tax for that. And that's not all. A huge portion of the peasants' harvest had to be given up. And there was also the labor tax, where peasants were required to work a certain number of days for their local lord without pay. Obviously, people weren't too happy with these taxes.
If we were trapped in a sinking vessel with all the rich people of the world, they would charge us to breathe. You know, they would charge us to breathe the last bit of air in the ship as it sank. I fundamentally believe this. That's what they're doing.
Aggressive nature of these private tax farmers sometimes even escalated to violence. In particular,
and sooner or later, this is like the human state of affairs. When the rich people get too out of hand with their fucking fascism and their fucking lack of morals and their child sex and all this stupid ass shit, there's always a revolution. Somebody always loses their fucking head and a bunch of people fucking die. And usually the whole world gets involved. They're called world wars. What happens when rich people get out of hand? World wars.
he hated how inconsistent the taxation rules were across the nation, and also the fact that the first two estates often had to pay very little, if any tax at all. And so, the anger continued to grow. France had a population that was just about ready to explode. What could push them over the edge? How about it?
Rich people told Germany that they couldn't make any money for 20 years. It was called the Treaty of Versailles because Germany had caused World War I. So when rich people told the poor people of Germany that they couldn't eat or pay for a loaf of bread or even be able to afford a loaf of bread, and that they'll starve in the streets like fucking dogs. Rich people told Germany, like the people of Germany, who some of them weren't even alive during that war. You know, these were people by 1936 when this shit all set off, right? Some of them weren't even alive during the war in 1916. You know, some of them weren't even alive at that point. They were like, some of them were young. They were like 20 years old and stuff. And they were told by rich people that they couldn't make any money and they couldn't buy bread and they had to starve like the homeless in the streets are starving right now in America, right? Like what's happening with the homeless in America was exactly what happened in Germany when a bunch of world's rich people told Germany they couldn't make enough money to sustain themselves for a long time because they had caused World War I. Now, it's evil to cause World War I, and it was terrible, and it was fucked up. It wasn't as terrible as World War II, but it was fucked up. It was like bad, as terrible, basically, right? And so, and World War II was more fucked up because of the Holocaust, which was a hidden massacre. But I mean, like, you know, overall, World War I was like just as morally bad. It was really bad. So the rich people tell all the people of Germany, which some of them are guilty, armed, you know, military who fought in World War I for Germany to take over the world, you know. And then some of them are like 20-year-old kids who were born right after the war, right? And the price of a loaf of bread right around 1930, I think 1933, 1934, somewhere around there. The price of a loaf of bread became 10,000 Deutschmarks, which is what it sounds like in current money. It became $10,000 for a loaf of bread because the money had devalued so badly. And the people were so poor, there was no resources in the country. They weren't allowed to make any money. And any money they sent, they had to pay for, or any money they made, they had to pay in reparations to the countries that they had damaged in World War I. And so the people of Germany did this for a while. Like 18 years or something they put up with it. I think it was that long. It was like from 1918 or something, like 1922 I think till 1936 or something like this. 14 years I think it was, something like that. They put up with complete destitution, poverty for both the lower, middle, and upper, all classes. Lower, middle, and upper classes saw no money, no food, no income, no resources. All of that went to reparations. Otherwise we probably would have just killed them all, frankly. We probably would have come into Germany and just killed them all for what they did. That, like, so we didn't want to do that to them. No one in the world did not want to do that to them. So we struck this treaty with them. We were like, okay, sign the Treaty of Versailles and agreed to pay all the fucking people that you hurt, right? And I think this is kind of like sort of like how Russia's sort of acting right now, like is how Germany acted in World War I, right? And so now, so we say, like, the U.S., the NATO allies say, or the allies, right, say that oh, Germany, you're an asshole for causing World War I, and you must pay reparations for a long time, 20 years, I think it was. And so after 13 years. Hitler was walking with all the other fucking disparate youth who had fought in the World War I and were still militaristic and were older and had used army hookers, and Hitler had syphilis from army hookers and shit like this, and they were all crazy. And don't believe me, go Google. The reason that we had the Holocaust is because Hitler liked army hookers. He was an army hooker person. He had syphilis, most definitely. And so because of the syphilis, we got brain damage, and with the brain damage, we got the Holocaust and all this stupid ass shit, because he could have just sat there and brought Germany to prominence and done nothing at all, and they would have just carried him to the fucking top, and he would have never had to lift a finger at all, like Trump, right? Like Trump didn't have to lift a finger to get where he got at all. He didn't name a platform. He didn't name a policy. He did not do a single day in office. He had a television actor's career. He never did a lick of work in his life except for television acting. And I'm sorry, but I mean, that, and that's the meritocracy. That's how they act. That's the jobs that they take. That's how they act, right? So Germany throws off the Treaty of Versailles in 2033. I forget, when did Germany break the Treaty of Versailles, right? I'll get you better years than this. When did Germany break Treaty Versailles? The Treaty of Versailles was broken in 1936. I was close. I was going to say 1933, right? Hitler broke the Treaty of Versailles because he rose to prominence in, I think, like 33, something like that. And he broke the treaty by moving 22,000 troops into the Rhineland demilitarized zone, and he took over Czechoslovakia. He took over the Sudetenland and Austria, right? And declaring Anschluss and all this, right? And so, like, where I'm going with this is because because a bunch of rich countries and rich people decided that they wanted to tell another country what to do, even if they were guilty of starting World War I. And this was rich people that decided to do this. They were like, we're the world's powerful, rich, leading classes and all the people that run the countries and all this. We're the monarchies and the aristocracies and stuff. And we say that we don't want Germany to suffer for World War I very long, but that they should suffer, that they should recognize that they caused the war, and that they should show the world some recompense and all this. And so, yeah, by 33, Hitler had convinced the entirety of both the lower and the middle class, which quite rightfully so, that they were all going to starve to death if they didn't get rid of the fucking communists and the aristocracies of the other European countries that were repressing them with the Treaty of Versailles. And he was absolutely correct in saying this. They were being oppressed very badly by very rich dictators who had controlled European and American countries and stuff, and had demanded something from Germany that I'm not sure the world could actually, that we demanded a check that I'm not sure our butts could actually cash. I'm not sure it was right for us to actually suppress Germany for that long, because some of those people in Germany hadn't even been born yet. And I'm sure that's what Hitler was probably saying in his speeches, but I've never listened to a Hitler speech, and I don't intend to. You know what I'm saying? So, like, and he didn't rise to power with a lie. He said it's fucked up that we've dealt with the Treaty of Versailles this fucking long, since like 1922 or something. They've condemned us to 16 years of poverty, and we lost the war just like them. Everybody lost the war. Nobody won World War I. There's no winners. There's just somebody survived and somebody didn't, right? So they're like, fuck me. They're like Hitler's like, motherfucker. He gets pissed off and he's like, motherfucker, we lost the war like like you too. And you guys don't suffer like us. We have to pay you like slaves for 50 years or whatever, 20 years because we lost the war. You fought the war too and all this other stuff, right? This is probably what he said in his speeches, but I don't know and I don't care. So like, and I imagine that's what he said in Drunken History or whatever, you know? So by 1933, he's breaking treaties and he's done the Night of the Long Knives, or sorry, not the Night of the Long Knives, but the beer hall putsch, and he's announced himself and he's become chancellor and he's risen to power. And he does this by saying that the rich people have cursed us with poverty. And this is how he browbeat the lower and the middle class, and he directly pointed them at the rich, and he was like, these are the communists, and these are the rich so-and-sos. I won't say the word because I'm not fucking racist like him. The rich so-and-sos have fucked us. The banks have fucked us. The rich men who run all the rent prices and all the prices of the barrel of oil and how much a ship costs or that kind of thing, right? All the rich people are just fucking us so bad now that it's $10,000 for a loaf of bread, but first of all, nobody has $10,000, and if they did, it wouldn't be worth a loaf of bread. The money isn't worth anything. Nothing in Germany is worth anything because of the Treaty of Versailles, right? And so he was rightfully able to, not rightfully, but you know, he was righteous in saying that this oppression could not live as long as it did, because there was youth in the country that didn't deserve this sort of treatment, and that's how he got the Hitler Youth. He was right about that. The Hitler Youth, we always wondered why the Hitler Youth were so goddamn crazy for him. And it was because he made the point that you guys didn't fight in World War I. You weren't even born yet. Some of you were like, 10 to 16 years old or something like that. And he won speeches with this. Like, he won fans with this. He was like, you poor young kids have been fucked by the rich people for so fucking long. This is literally the drum that he beat to start World War II and the Holocaust. He was like, you rich people have been fucked by and I'm doing it too. It sucks, but I'm not trying to start a Holocaust like him. I'm trying to take it towards the Gandhi way. I think Trump wants to take it toward the Hitler way. I want to take it towards the Gandhi way, and I don't even think Joe's in the goddamn fight at all. I want to take it the Gandhi way and prove to them that no, the children, the Zoomers and the kids, the 15-year-olds right now, the kids who are 15 right now have it worse. They have it the worst of any of the 5 generations. They have no chance. They have no chance of buying a house. They will never have a house like me. They will not have much sex because they're going to be constrained to poverty for most of it. They're going to be addicted to a lot of terrible drugs because all the rich people of the world are manipulating all that stuff and just making it readily available to everybody. They're going to be addicted to meth. They're going to be teenage prostitute mothers and all this. That's what's going to happen. It's the new Sodom and Gomorrah or whatever biblical fucking thing that you believe in. That is what is happening as the rich people steal all the money. The lower class and the middle class get more and more desperate, and they start selling their bodies and selling their souls and serving in serf jobs and being the matrix battery for the fucking rich people's goddamn slavery with extra steps machine and all these problems. And this is how we got World War II and the fucking Nazis, was that the rich people told another country, even if they were right, I'm not so sure they were right to do it, really. The rich people from all the rich people that ran all the countries in the world got together in a big UN meeting. They decided to fuck Germany because Germany descended us all into World War. But see, it takes 2 to tango in a world war. It wouldn't have been a world war if all of us had just been strong and agreed not to attack each other, right? But no, we were all weak like Germany, and we all got into and slung mud and killed each other and fucking dropped mustard gas and all this other stupid shit and tried to kill each other and all this, right? Like, no, we got in it just like them. I'm not so sure that Germany should have faced the Treaty of Versailles. And this sounds pro-Nazi, but it's not. It's more pro-Germany kind of. It's like imagine if you hadn't even been born yet, and the war that your father fought constrained you to a life of poverty because he lost it. And this is how Hitler drummed the youth that never should have fucking backed him for his crazy racist plan and his final solution, all this stupid ass shit, right? And so like now, and Louis XIV was very, very influential on all of this. I'm saying like almost all of it was kind of like, so Hitler was anti Louis XIV like me. And this is why all the weird people of the world can sometimes like relate to him. I don't, but I think a lot of people in this world do relate to him because he really hated the rich people like we do. And I think anybody who if you're backing Trump, Like, does Trump pay you to do so? That's my suggestion. You know what I'm saying? If you're backing Trump, you better get paid to fucking do so, because he doesn't believe in you having a good home. He doesn't believe in you you making any money. He only wants himself to make any money. He doesn't believe in you thriving. He doesn't care what happens to you. That man is not your fucking friend. None of them are. The aristocracy and the meritocracy that have taken over this world, they are not our fucking friends. Not Joe Biden, not Trump. Neither one. And so, you know, and so anytime there's a problem or a natural disaster or COVID or something like that, we have a close to another world war. We either do have a world war or two world wars in a 30-year period, right? We'll have like 2 world wars in a 30-year period every time there's a natural disaster like COVID or the Black Plague or, you know... And so Trump ushered in COVID. It just seems like the devil is flexing their muscles now. And how you back this criminal despot billionaire who couldn't give a living shit whether you live or die. How these people back these conglomerates who wouldn't give a living shit or piss on them if they were on fire to put them out. How they back these conglomerates and these shitty dictatorships and and people like Trump is beyond me. These men are not your fucking friend. And I'm not speaking from a leftist point of view. I'm speaking from a pragmatist centrist point of view. None of these people are your fucking friend, including your own government. None of these people are your own friend. The rich aristocracy and the meritocracy have taken over this world, and they have sold it out, and they're selling it to the highest bidder, and they're fucking children, and they're rearing their ugly Satan head, and the thieves are in the temple, and the children are being hurt. And the schools are being shot up, and I'm sorry, but if you back these people that are causing that stuff, you are not my friend. I don't want you in my channel, and I don't want to hear about how you back these people that are causing the death of the human race. I don't. You are a traitor, like him. Get the fuck out of here.
Of natural disaster, a series of harsh summers and winters left the peasants' harvests in ruin, meaning they had no food.
Right, and that's exactly what's happening right now. We're in a recession. It's terrible. They had to send pandemic unassisted relief because nobody could fucking work because of natural disaster for like 4 fucking years. And like, trust me, it's all been done before. It's all stuff they're doing over and over and over again. Every 120 years or so, somebody tries to sock Moscow, like us or whatever, and or I don't know, fucking Hitler, right? Somebody every 120 years or so, we have 1 or 2 world wars because somebody goes to try and sock Moscow again, because every fucking rich person in the world just sits there and dreams about Putin's riches. I don't know why, but they've done this since Christ was born. And I know you don't know it because you don't read books, you don't watch all the documentaries and watch every World War II history fucking movie or documentary ever fucking made. I know you don't care about knowledge or whatever, just video games and killing people and harassing people or whatever. But I mean, this shit matters. You back that rich person who doesn't care whether you live or die while he steals your tax money, cheats on his wife, fucking, you know, and lets people burn alive in his slumlord tower. We're talking about a bad man here. And they're all like this. Joe Biden is the same.
And the cost
they're all like this. They're playing games with the world's wealth. They're throwing something we heard yesterday was every congressman is guaranteed to profit off of the stock market pretty much. It's like something that we don't talk about ever, but congressmen have like an 85% success rate on the stock market. And that's the game that they play. That is why they get us in wars all the time. It is why, you know, they're just trying to control that stock market. That's all it is. It's money. All this stuff, it's always money. And they'll declare a war and they'll get you all drummed up and they'll be like, remember how you hate the Chinese and Russians? Let's go fight them and stuff like that, right? But really, what they're really like, and I'm dead serious about this, is like, Oh my God, is this idiot peasant gonna go fight my war for me? I'm not gonna enlist my own kid. I'm not even gonna enlist my own child or anything. This idiot peasant's gonna go fight my crusades for me. And while I sit here and get high on cocaine and drink and steal all the world's money and kibitz with all the world's demon bankers and all this. And oh my God, the peasants are gonna go fight the Chinese and the Russian, and I can just sit there in the world news like Trump and say fuck Mexicans and fuck Russians and fuck Chinese, and I don't believe this. I'm saying what he says, right? He believes that stupid shit. I don't, right? And so he can sit up there and he like Dr. Evil, and he can be like, fuck the Mexicans and fuck the and all this other stupid ass shit, right? While we go to war overseas. This is the game they've played since the 600s and long before that. While we, the peasants, and we, the middle class, go to fight their wars overseas and die in their nuclear blasts and, watch while they spend our money on Jeffrey's little black book. And they've been doing this since Louis XIV. If you don't believe me, gather around, children, and listen. They've been doing this for hundreds of fucking years. This isn't new. Trump is not new. None of this stuff is new. We've been seeing it for hundreds of fucking years. If we don't ever learn from it, we're doomed to repeat it. That rich man is not your friends, children. I know you can't, I know you can't vote for him. You're not old enough, but that rich man is not your fucking friends, children. He doesn't care if your family lives or dies. He doesn't care if the bank forecloses on your fucking house. He doesn't care if it's $10 for a loaf of bread or $5 for a tank of gas, because guess who makes that money? Him. Not you. Him. So he doesn't care what the prices are that are killing your parents.
Classes had massive stocks of grain and wheat, so they were virtually untouched by this new crisis.
Yeah, it sounds like the government cheese they've heard about yesterday, right? Yeah, so we learned that in the French Revolution, they stashed a bunch of bread so that the rich people could douse it in wine and continue to eat. I'm dead serious, right? The bread can go stale. It doesn't matter if you dip it in wine, you can probably choke it down. And the reason that they did this, they took all the bread in France and they stuffed it in the palace. I'm dead serious. And America did this too. America stuffed all the cheese in the country into the cheese tunnels under wherever it is. I don't even know where the cheese tunnels are, and I don't want to know, but I believe it. And I believe that are tunnels full of cheese, because I think this is something that rich people do. They believe that if the aliens are coming, or the COVID is coming, or the poor or the working class or the proletariat wants to lynch them or something like that for their bad behavior and all their drinking and their cocaine and their wife cheating and their stuff against God and their violation of the church's rules and all this stuff blatantly right out in public, right? And so the public will not kill them and the church will not excommunicate them, but what does happen is the rich people get really fucking paranoid that they're going to come and guillotine them. So they stockpile cheese and bread. And the Americans did this too. The Americans absolutely did this. We watched a video about it yesterday. The same bread that the French stockpiled in Versailles is the same cheese that we stockpiled in tunnels under NORAD in Colorado, right? And so all of this stuff, I'm serious, like we think that we've never done this before, and then it's all crazy and chaos, and then there's never, this shit like this has never happened before. But no. We've been doing all of this for thousands and thousands of years, guys. We've been doing World War II every 120 years. And the funny thing about this, and I know you don't want to believe this, but it is true. Every time there is a world war, most of the world's libraries are fucking burned. Most of them. Not all of them, but most of the world's churches and goddamn libraries are burned, and definitely the valuable information is completely stolen. Right? It's stolen. If Germany comes in and takes the Franco-Ottoman Empire, or I think they are the Franco-Ottoman Empire. If the Franco-Ottoman Empire comes in and takes the Franco Empire is the French. If the Franco Empire takes the Ottoman Empire, right? They rape their women, they steal their shit, they take their gold, and they steal their books and all of their religious and history texts, right? And they read them all for 100 years, and they're like, here's all the knowledge that the French know, and we're going to have all of our kids in college read it all, right? This is exactly how world wars work. This is how wars work. This is why they do the wars. They want to go in there, like Rust. They want to kill you for a second while you respawn. They want to take your palace. They want to kill your TC and take all the loot out of your fucking boxes and then let you grow again and leave your country. Right? And then maybe you have to rebuild somewhere else in the country even sometimes, right? But so you rebuild either that palace or somewhere else. And Rust is like the world game of politics. It's about as close as we've ever had to it, honestly. So like, think Rust, right? Like the world is Rust, and it's all Rust map, and like, you know, and so when we commit world wars, we don't do this to go save people. We go in so we can bang their doors, get in their boxes, take their best components and resources and all of their women and all of their artwork and all of their fucking their libraries and all of their religious texts and anything that they value at all, gold or anything like that. And we just take it all. That's what war actually is. It's Rust. It's not something about going to save the Jews in World War II. America got into the war to go steal the gold that the Jews had. And I really fundamentally believe this. America didn't get into that war to save anybody. Wars happen because of money. We saw a money opportunity over there to sack Europe and save a race. Yeah. But I swear to God, all of that is about Israel and all that other stuff. It's just weird. It's that same old anti-Semitic stuff that I'm not trying to engage in. You know, I'm not trying to be anti-Semitic. I'm not. I promise I'm not. I'm trying to say that, like, this shit has been going on for thousands of years. Trying to storm Moscow like Hitler did. That's been going on every 120 years. Trying to fucking Germany starting a world war that goes on every 100 years or something like that. Some big rich entity such as America, or later on it was like other fucking empires and stuff like Greece or, you know, France or, you know, even China or even, you know, whatever. India. It's weird. Like, somebody always tries to take over the world like Rust, and then they hole up in their big fucking rich tower that looks over the whole world, and they use all the resources from the stolen stuff that they got from their war spoils, and they build up a big base like Berlin, right? Like Berlin. And that's like Rust. And then somebody either comes and sacks them. Like the Romanovs did this. They built a whole lineage and a heritage and all this riches and everything. The Romanovs were very famous for this, and the world saw this, and pretty much all the world leaders got red-eyed, and they were green-eyed, and they got green-eyed jealous, and and every 120 years they go and try and sack the Romanovs again. They try to take Moscow, and they forget what winter is. Winter's coming. And doesn't matter, winter is always coming, and you guys always forget that winter exists, and you try to sock Moscow again every 120 years or something. And every time that there's a world war, all of the world's information is intentionally wiped so that people forget what their biases are against each other again and just try to coexist again, right? All of the world's information is wiped every time there's like a world war, and to the victor goes the spoils is the old adage, right? So if there's knowledge that a country has and they're sacked in a world war and the world war ends, the country that took that country has all their books and all their knowledge and everything. And so, you know, and so they learn interesting things when they gain other people's knowledge, like stockpile and how powerful stockpile is, or how powerful the sun is and how easy it is to calculate the time of the year by the sun and all this stuff. And other civilizations who have gained knowledge teach things to that culture, either through stolen information or just word of mouth, that kind of thing. And so then they go and they learn that stockpile is how rich people have always maintained their power. Always. They say that you don't have any money. I have money, but you don't. I'm your leader. I have money, but you don't. You're poor, right? So we can't go to war overseas. I'm the only person here who has any money. I'm the leader, right? So if we go to wars overseas, it's when I say so, and it's with all of our money. And if we win, we'll triple. You know, we'll take their base and we'll rob them and we'll get all the spoils and we'll be pirates and we'll take their country and we'll take everything they have and we'll rape all their women and we'll steal all their money and we'll kill all their banks and, you know, kill all their temples and all this stuff. And this is what war is. It's not some go save somebody or, oh, our friends are being attacked. It's let's go Rust raid somebody. That is, if you want to understand what war is, if you want to know why our country got into World War II, it is Rust raiding. It is not fucking Pearl Harbor. It is not fucking some fucking idiot fucking naive ideological fucking thing about saving the Jews or something like that. It's always resources and money and oil. It's always been like that since before Christ. It'll always be that way after, until we get out of here, you know? So, like, we've done this all before. We've stuffed the cheese in the fucking, you know, we've stuffed the cheese in the fucking, in the tunnels, and we've stuffed the bread in the palace, and we've tried to outlive the lower class trying to starve us out of the palace and everything.
But now the poor really were starving, and they
really were starving, and they see all these rich people in there eating like $14 McDonald's meals and shit, and $100 fucking, you know, or $200 fucking filet mignons through the windows and stuff, and they can't go steal the food or the cops come and arrest them. But they're so angry and so hungry that they're like staring through the fucking windows, like at the pizza that the fucking rich people are eating. And they're like looking in through the windows of the palace, and they're going to church, and they're seeing these people with all this gold adorned all over them while they starve to death. And then you get the veritable pitchforks and torches thing, right? The rabble rousing and the beer hall putsch and the drinking and because the only thing that's cheap in the whole country is alcohol. And then that's on purpose too. The rich people, the only thing they'll leave cheap is the alcohol, right? So that everybody's drunk all the time and can't think about how much money they're stealing. Or one of the reasons the rich people make drugs illegal is because they know that we'll go do drugs. They know that anytime they tell us not to do something, we're going to go do it like it's going out of style. It's just, and they've known this for 200 years, well, probably 2 billion years, really. They've known it for a long time, that really the fastest way to get a peaceful, you know, go along populace is just to get them all drunk. I'm dead serious, to just like leave the only resource in the country that's actually cheap. And I mean, in life kind of works like this, right? What is the main resource in France? It's actually grapes, I believe. And what do you make with grapes? It's wine. So the one thing that is cheap in France is wine. And so all the peasants are drunk and angry, and all the fucking middle class is drunk and angry, and the fucking upper class are ecstatically fucking happy, and they're all dancing to Lana Del Rey, and they're fucking like rabbits, and they're doing lines of cocaine up there in that fucking Gatsby mansion, and they're like, you know, and they're raping children, and they're listening to jazz and the devil's music and all this other shit. And then the lower and the middle class are in the streets looking at the meat. This happened recently when they try to throw a rich person's ball for for something, and all these people went to outside the gala like fucking House of Cards and like just demanded that they come out of there or maybe get lynched. It was crazy. They were like, you can't sit up there with your fucking fine china and your $4,000 plates and all this while we starve in the streets. Like literally, it's like literally we've seen this since the 1400s. We've seen rich people act like this, and yet we never ever stopped them until we guillotined them in a world war. Why don't we just go up to their mansions and chop up their heads? I don't need a war. Just like have the cops go arrest them. Seriously, have the cops go arrest them. Have the people take over the government. Have the government take over the cops and the military. And have the military go arrest the rich people and cap them at 200 million and tell them you can, okay, you got a choice. You can keep your 200 million or you can have nothing at all. You know what they're going to say. They're going to be like, I'll take the 200 million, leave me alone. And the police officer is like, all right. And they undo the fucking handcuffs and they're like, enjoy your 200 million. And they're like, all right, where's your Bitcoin? Where's your cash? And we'll kill you if you don't tell us. We'll kill you right now. We don't care about you. We'll kill you right now if you don't fucking tell us. Where's your Bitcoin? Where's your cash? Where's your drugs? Where's your assets? All that stuff, right? We're taking 800 of every billion. Right? And we take that 800, and this is where it gets scary, and this is why world wars happen, right? And we do something bad with it. We start a war, or we buy military gear, or we throw a revolution, or we do something with that money that's bad, generally. We take that money that we steal from the rich, and we do something bad, And then, you know, or we just start a world war over them stealing all the money, you know, one or the other. And we do something bad with the money is another form of it. We get all their money and then we do something bad and we become just as corrupt as them, right? And then the whole thing repeats again. So we never just go to their houses and take all their money before they do any more damage to us. We just wait till the world war sparks off and then we fight the war for them and they just remain on top. And we fight all the poor people of the world, fight all the other poor people of the world. That's what war is. It is the rich people send the poor people to fight the other poor people of the world. If you didn't know what it was, if you think it's some ideological crusade or literal crusades or saving the Jews or saving the Viet Cong or any of this stuff that we like to tell the public that you fell fucking hook, line, and sinker for because the rich people like to choke the education system so that you're not smart enough to understand who Louis the 14th is or the French Revolution or shit that you should have been listening to in high school but instead you were playing Counter-Strike 2, you know? And I'm sorry, but like not all of us did that. I trust me, I played Metal Gear Solid through high school too. I'm a fucking degenerate like you, but I listened. There was a fucking difference because I knew it was gonna matter fucking later. And so you can have your little surf life and no money and no home or whatever if you really fancy it or whatever. Or you can get smart and stop supporting these fucking rich assholes who would rather sell us out and you know to the highest bidder.
And to riot. Women took to the streets.
You could call it anti-rich, but I'm not calling it anti-rich. I'm calling it anti-evil. I'm calling it rich people acting evil. It's rich people. I'm not anti-rich. I don't care if they've got $200 million or something like that. I don't fucking care if they live in a McMansion with a fucking hot tub and fuck Stormy Daniels all day. I'm not a fascist. I don't care what they do. But that money needs to go to the people who are staring at you through the window while you eat your filet mignon and they've got nothing but torches and fucking pitchforks to eat. You know what I'm saying? And this has been going on for thousands of years, and we never get wise to it. We have the internet now. We can talk to each other. We've only had the internet since like what 90 or something like that. It's since AOL or something like that, right? We've only had the internet for like 25 years, but we must, as the middle and the lower class, we must talk to the other lower and middle class people of this world and agree not to kill each other every time some fucking rich person cracks the whip. You know what I'm saying? We have to talk to each other about this stuff. We have to. We cannot keep going back to world wars over goddamn Trumpisms and malapropisms and fucking stealing and oil and all this other like based degenerate shit when you know that we're actually Starfield and we should be out there in the stars. Everybody knows it. Everybody in the human race knows it. That we are destined for the fucking stars. To quote the great goddamn Plato. Or, sorry, Aristotle, excuse me. I'm going to quote Aristotle, right? I'm going to quote the great Aristotle. I keep my eyes on the stars. You know what I'm saying? And this is a truly great quote because it's like, no matter what, no matter how many planetary wars and stupid pederast fucking billionaires and Jeffrey's fucking Black Book and all this, right? You know, Trump and Black Book stuff that they get up to in their little Sodom and Gomorrah and their fucking high class up there above us or whatever the fuck. Like, literally... Like the poor people and the middle class of these countries in this world must come to an agreement. The poor people and the middle class of Russia and Ukraine must come to an agreement. The poor people of Palestine and Israel must come to an agreement. These are not wars that you wish to fight. And like the great John Lennon said, war is over if you want it. And this is a God truth. War is over if you want it. You want that war. If the poor people if the poor people in Ukraine were to talk to the poor people in Russia, we would understand that no, these are our buddies. This is our neighbors. If the poor white trash, red right-wing red hat MAGAs of this country, like were to talk to the poor Mexicans of Mexico, they would understand that they are our friends, and the people that cracked the whip to go kill them at the border are not our friends. They are not our friends. They're the people who sit back in the fucking McMansions while we pitchfork and torch outside the window while they eat the filet mignon. And if you want to support Trump while he eats filet mignon and sits out his 200 goddamn felony charges and shit, and you know, acts like a fucking debate. I've never known a Republican to back a cheating, godless man. But I mean, I don't know how all those Republicans back that cheating, godless man. That man has committed so many has violated so many commandments and not sought any sort of goddamn fucking penance at all. At all. He's up there in the court talking about how they're all liars and shit like this. This man is evil like Satan. And you want to back him? Jesus fucking Christ. Let's make all the rich overlords more powerful, I guess. Yeah, I guess we didn't learn from World War I and World War II and millions and millions of corpses, I guess. I guess we didn't learn. We got to just let these rich people fucking steer us around and get us to fight each other all the fucking time, like some kind of fucking bully on the playground who's like, look at this, I can hold them both against each other and they'll fucking really try to hurt each other or whatever. This is literally the game that they're playing. It's like, come on now.
Bakeries were raided, and bakers suspected of keeping bread for themselves.
Why is it muted? The fucking
even hanged.
headphones went off.
Wow, this is really getting out of control. Your Majesty, we need some decisive action. You need to step up and lead us. What will you do? Okay, I've got this. I know. I'll summon the Estates General, and they'll decide what to do. You really are a fat, ill-bred boy. The Estates General was the closest thing France had to a government, apart from the king. It was a purely advisory body, and was rarely summoned. In fact, it hadn't been summoned for 175 years prior to this. But with France and...
Which means that it didn't exist, and he made it up, and he brought it back from some crazy law from 200 years ago, like they all do.
A severe crisis.
I heard one time that... You ever hear about jurisdiction and cops, right? Cops have jurisdiction. And I heard from an anarchist one time that I actually kind of believe that way back in 1916 or something like that, right during World War I think, we had a problem with like deserters and lawlessness and scofflaws and stuff in the country while there was wars overseas. So we established something in the country called jurisdiction, which gives naval command over zones all over the country. Usually naval. It was naval. It was only naval. It was only ever meant to be naval. That was it. Naval command, so they can jurisdiction and tribunal anybody who acts like a scofflaw or a deserter or anything during times of World War or anything like that, right? And so jurisdiction was established in the country during a World War to establish maritime naval law. I'm dead serious about this stuff. I'm repeating something that I heard that I don't know is true, but I believe it, right? And I think this is right, actually. I think it sounds right. Jurisdiction came in during 1916 in naval law, and then it just stayed there. Like the Patriot Act. We never got rid of it. We just let it sit there. But no, it turns out that judges are there paid for by the community to pass judgment when the people want it, not when some cop has jurisdiction and brought some kind of like case and with a case number into a bureaucrat and commits some court action and such, right? That's not really how actual courts work, right? There's no jurisdiction with police codes and different zoning and all this, like gerrymandering of zones and jurisdictions and all this, right? Where one cop can't bust some other dude in some other jurisdiction. And it turns out that judges have not had, I mean, they've always had, judges have always had maritime jurisdiction over all the fucking codes and zones and area codes all over this country, right? But originally, American judges, I don't believe, had that kind of power, and neither did the police. This was something that we only instituted during maritime war in a tiny island war, I think in like 1906 or 1916 or something like that. And then we just never changed it, like the Patriot Act. And that's how we have the police state. That's literally what I heard, and I don't know. I believe it, but I can't prove it, so I'm just repeating something that I heard from the internet. The only reason I heard about this is when you go and I heard about this, and I've heard it done tell in the anarchist circles that it has been done successfully before. You can get out of murder this way. And I don't believe it's true. I'm sure the judge just waves his hammer and the cops just arrest you. I guarantee it. It's not like you can get out of a murder charge. It's not like that. But in the 70s, there was rumbles in the Abby Hoffman, anarchist cookbook scene where there was rumors that if you could establish in court with the judge, if you had a good enough lawyer or if you were knowledgeable enough about the law yourself, if you could establish the precedence with the judge that they didn't actually have jurisdiction over you because it is not maritime war, they can't prosecute you. And I believe this to be true. Now, I don't think you can get away with it at all. I think they're just going to wave the hand and you go to jail. I guarantee you that's how it works. I mean, I don't believe you can make this happen. I don't believe you can. But I looked into it because I had that fucking 10-year charge. They were trying the 3 charges they were trying to hit me for 10 years. I was like, I'm not doing 10 years in the Denver County Jail during COVID. I won't make it, And so I was like thinking of ways to get out of that mess because I didn't believe in the charges in the first place. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, I don't believe in losing 10 years of my life over probation violation when I admitted to it and I fessed up and I didn't hide it and I acted like a good citizen and I told them I had a problem and why and all this stuff and I supplied the fucking proof and I showed them the bloody beaten face that I was when I relapsed, and all that. And they they let me off of that. They didn't do the 10 years, but I mean, like, I looked at that. I went through all the anarchist websites on the fucking internet. I went all over the internet looking for some way out of these false fucking charges that I didn't want. And where I landed on a bunch of websites was this thing about how the judges don't actually have fucking jurisdiction outside of time of war. You have to tell them that. You have to, like, you as the community, like the senator or whatever the local whatever the local governor is, the governor has to tell the judge to prosecute somebody. They don't actually have any power. They only have power if it's maritime law and they need to tribunal. Judges and cops don't have zones and jurisdictions. That's a maritime war thing. And I believe that to be true. I do, or I wouldn't say it. Now, can you get out of a charge? Absolutely the fuck not. And I don't suggest you try that, but I'm just saying that, but I think the jurisdiction thing is true. I don't think we've ever had jurisdictions in this country outside of maritime war. It's actually a maritime war thing for jurisdictions because you have to carve up the whole seaboard and the country into like little charts that you can police with military, right? And then those local police are that country's defense too, which is like crazy. And it's just nuts, like how deep it goes when you actually look at like some law from 200 years ago or whatever, 100 years ago, right? 150 years ago is why they're able to put all these people in jail for non-violent drug crimes and all this, right? Because it turns out, no, they don't have the jurisdiction over the people to tell the people what to do. The people have to tell them to prosecute for it. That's how all judges in all countries are. The judge doesn't send the police to go prosecute a crime and then send the DA and the prosecutor. Normally, it's actually just a judge and 2 barristers most of the time, and they're there because the community asked them to come and wheel out a judgment on what should happen to the person, and then the community meets it out. That's what policing has always been. It's never been this thing about sergeants and lieutenants and structures and army structures to police and jurisdictions and merit, and that's all maritime stuff from wartime. Like, there was never a military structure to police. It's always just been bobbies and a leader. It's like bobbies and a commissioner, It's like bobbies and a commissioner. There isn't usually even detectives, actually. That's all military stuff. And so at some point in like 1906 or something like that, we militarized our police under maritime law. And then I guess the politicians just never mentioned it again because it never ever came up again. And it's still in effect. Jurisdiction is in effect, but it is a maritime law thing. Is what I've understood from the law and all the websites I read, and then what the lawyers came with. They're like, yeah, it's true. Actually, jurisdiction is a maritime thing, but we just never got rid of it. No, I saw that on a bunch of websites. They were like, yeah, jurisdiction is a maritime thing, but we just never got rid of it. So now, every time some fucking, down home country fried bacon pig down there in Kentucky pulls you over for a fucking pot seed, it turns out that you're basically allowed to just keep going, or say you have like a joint or something. It turns out you actually are, like, unless you've raped or murdered somebody, the cop can detain you if he believes that you raped or murdered or something like that. But if it's like lesser crime than that, unless there's jurisdiction and code and penal and municipal laws and all this stuff, which is a maritime jurisdiction thing. It isn't how police normally run their business. Police do not normally do military structure. They do now in the modern world, but they didn't for hundreds of years, basically. It wasn't normal. It wasn't normal to have sergeants or detectives or anything like that. So, or majors or anything, or rank and file. Rank and file is the thing that came in when jurisdiction from maritime law was applied to the entire country, but then was never removed. And so no, a Kentucky, if you live in Colorado, a Kentucky cop shouldn't technically be able to detain you. He should be able to pull you over, arrest you, tell you he's got an issue with you. But technically, unless the people of Kentucky raise an issue or a judge raises an issue, they don't have some right to detain you unless you murdered or raped somebody. That's how this is what I've heard. I don't know if it's true, but this is what I always heard in the anarchist scene. This can be manipulated, but you can't manipulate a judge in this country. That's against the law. So you can't just go up in front of a court and be like, yeah, I'm not in your jurisdiction. You can't prosecute me, right? That's manipulating a judge. That's a whole different crime of charges. You are guilty of that. So you can't just like try and sway the outcome. The judge lets you talk, and if you say anything but what he wants you to say, you're in contempt of court. So I mean, like, so the jurisdiction thing I kind of struggle with a lot. I just bring it up because, like, I think a lot of people have been abused in this prison industrial system for nonviolent drugs illegally. And I deeply suspect this to be true. I think if the congressional law historians were to dig back about 130 or 140 years, I think they would find that there was a completely different police system and a completely different judge system than what we currently have today, that didn't have anywhere near this kind of power. They didn't have the power to throw you in the drunk tank overnight. That was actually a thing they did to help you. They would keep you away from the populace so that you wouldn't get robbed or, like, literally cops used to be our friends, but they're not anymore because they were jurisdiction manipulated and municipalized and all this and all these codes and laws that weren't really ever there were suddenly introduced to essentially punish people, like, across lines and across borders and across federal lines and all this other stuff. And it's weird because police never have that kind of power. Like, when you play, I never knew this till I played Disco Elysium, but like, say if you're on a small island country, if you're in a small island country in the Pacific, there's a whole bunch of them, so I don't want to call one out. I can't think of any right now. Malaysia or something, maybe Malaysia. Chances are that court doesn't have jurisdictions anywhere else. The judge can't tell you what to do. The guards will keep you there while they mete out the justice and stuff, but in the community will get their satisfaction. That's what the judge and the cops are there for. But there is no laws really unless you jurisprudence jurisdiction divide up the country into fucking municipal code areas with separate laws for every jurisdiction. You do not have the laws in place to actually prosecute anybody for anything that the community doesn't want them prosecuted for. So if the community shows up this is how policing has happened for hundreds of years. If there's a complaint like a rape or a murder or a fucking, a theft, the community complains, the police go and detain the person, they take him to a judge, and the community shows up, and the community provides the fucking witness, and it's not this thing about district attorney or any of this. The barristers on each side call their witnesses in the court case room there. It's not jury or anything like that. And the judge, I think jury is something that maritime law does. Jury is something maritime law does. I don't think you normally have a jury in most courts, actually. It's usually just a judge and a hammer, I believe. It's actually kind of crazy. In most formal courts, I think there's juries in all the big first world countries and stuff because we consider ourselves better than that. But I don't think it's normal in law, actually, for the last like thousands of years for courts to have any fucking power. The community always had that power. So the community can do things like say, well, the state needs to give this victim some money, and I want the judge to do that for me, and I'm going to have the lawyer arrange it with you, and the community can ask for stuff like that, but it's never been like this coded penal thing where they can make us pay fines or any of this other thing, and the community can always mete out what the justice is right there in the fucking courtroom, and the judge and the cops are there to stop that. Right? If you're innocent, all judges and cops have ever meant to do were to protect innocent people. But what it ended up being is punish people. Right? What the average cop does now is punish people. But what they were meant to be there for originally was to prevent the community from lynching the person if they were innocent. That's all judges and cops have ever been for. And I swear to God, it's like this. And so some American politician hoodwinked us like 140 years ago and brought in jurisdiction and shit like this and penal code and all this. But honestly, that's not normally how it works. If there's a complaint in the fucking community, usually you drag the aggressor out in front of the court with guards and you list your complaint to the judge and you demand satisfaction, and the judge has to decide whether you get to kill him or not. That's how court has, gone for thousands of years. That's actually how court has always gone, actually. It's not this police thing with the law and order thing with and so now I wish reform of our police system on top of all this other shit. I can't have Trumps ruining us with their fucking Louis the 14th fucking aristocracy fucking ideals. I can't have fucking cops and judges ruining our honest, non-violent citizens for drugs and shit like that outside of jurisdictions that don't fucking exist without the community there to suss out what should actually happen, as opposed to some jury or some judge and some crazy $300 million settlement or an NDA, or rapists get away because of NDAs, because of penal codes and just non-disclosure agreements and all this. But honestly, if the community was just actually allowed to enter the room that Trump was in and attack him if they believed him guilty of the things that he's done, and the only thing that's saving him is the guards that are running the blue line between him and the community, there's no jury necessary, there's no chair necessary. Generally, in most courts, since the dawn of mankind, the community shows up to kill the aggressor, and the cops and the judge are there to prevent them from doing that and determine if the person is innocent or not. Once they decide whether or not the person is innocent, which should only take something like 10 seconds, if the community states the complaint and the person is like, I have, technically, like, the lawyers aren't even usually involved in real court. It's kind of crazy. The lawyers are there to make sure that the person's rights aren't trampled now. But what it used to be is the barrister would just provide the proof that you were innocent or not. That was it. That was it. The barrister was only there in Britain. They were like, for a long time, it was like that in Britain. The barrister was only there to supply evidence to the judge, not some jury, not some maritime thing or any of this other weird crap that we do in this country now. But to just show the judge that here is irrefutable proof. That's what lawyers were originally for. It was originally a very honorable profession. It actually really was. It was like, I'm here to show you, judge, irrefutable proof that my client is innocent. or not or whatever, well, no, really, it's like innocent. And the judge goes, oh, well, how is he innocent? Show me. And the lawyer is like, okay, here's the documents, here's everything, here's what he did, here's the affidavits and the witness, and then the court goes on about its business like it normally does, right? But there's no jury being swayed by it. There's no, and so when the judge looks at the evidence, he preponders and he thinks, oh, well, I think he's right. I think this person is innocent. And so he tells the community rabble in the courtroom that are there to basically kill you for stealing from them or raping their sister or killing them or something like that, right? The judge says, you, the community, will fight the cops if you try to hurt this man or mete out your own justice. Because he is innocent, here is the irrefutable proof. My power is given by the king or the president. I will tell you that you do not have a legal right to arrest this man. Disperse. And that's how real court has gone since the dawn of time. That's actually what it's always been. There's no jury or any of this shit or anything like that. It is in maritime cases where, like, you want to hear peers, which means that other captains on other boats speak for your actions who saw kind of like an outside view of it. But jury is something that you do in maritime. Barristers and a judge are what you do with civil. But yeah, we run juries for murder cases, and this is how innocent people get off. I think the rich people set up the jury system so they could rig it. Does it make sense? I think they set up a jury system so they could rig it. But honestly, most law does not have a jury, not unless it's a jury of your peers. Remember how they say jury of your peers and all that stuff, right? We believed as Americans that we should have jury-based law, and I love that about American law. But that's not how the law was usually meted out the last 10,000 years. It's not. It's usually two barristers, a judge, and an angry group of people that want to kill you for your transgression. Believe it or not. And the judge gets to tell the cops yes or no. When he decides, he preponders and he sees the evidence and he decides whether you're innocent or not. He pronounces it, and the cops make their decision whether to let the fucking people tear you apart right then and there, or to blue wall you. And tell them that this is an innocent person. They have been exonerated. They're not free to attack. If you harm them in the community, the police will come and put you in front of the judge, and the community will tear you apart, right? And that is what law actually it is. It's not this perversion of juries. It's not this perversion of jurisdictions. It's not Kentucky cop, Kentucky judge pulling you over for a joint and then charging you $750 and then threatening you if you don't pay it and locking you up if you don't, right? It's that guy's rolling through on his wagon and he's smoking a joint. I don't like that in this community, right? So I'm going to go get the constable, and I'm going to be like, this guy's fucking around and smoking a joint, and you can't do that in this community. I want you to hold justice even though he doesn't live here, right? That's literally how this shit works. There's no jurisdiction or any of that. And so and of course the laws are a lot more complicated than this, but it does boil down to as simple as this though. Usually it's like the community has, if you commit a crime, it's actually kind of considered okay, I believe, actually. In real law, it's actually considered okay until somebody raises a complaint. You're essentially assumed innocent in this court of law. Until proven guilty, you are assumed innocent, right? So when you commit a crime, it's actually not, like, nothing needs to happen. They act like it does. And it should if it's a terrible crime. But I mean, like, they act like something should happen every time you smoke a joint, like you need to go to jail or something like that. And that is not true. Technically, how we've always had the law is that the community has an issue with you, they will raise it in public in a court, and they will want to tear you apart if they do. If you raped their sister or stole their money or fucking did something against them or something like that, they're going to want to tear you apart, and they have kind of like a God-given right to do that. And if you did trespass against them, the judge goes right at the judge, how it's always been. The judge says, yep, he's guilty, click, click, and he gets up and he leaves. He doesn't dispense the justice. He doesn't fucking tell the clerks to pay money or any of this shit. He doesn't dispense a fine or any of this stuff unless the community tells him to do that. At that point, he says, community, what would you like me to do? What is your recommendation, right? And the community says, we want to tear him apart for raping Connie or whatever, And the judge is like, okay, is there anything else you want me to do? And they're like, speak now. And the community kind of stands around. They talk to each other, and they're like, fuck this guy, we're gonna kill him, but we need to know how bad it needs to go. Is their whole family evil? Was it rapist brothers, or was it just him? And they scratch their heads and they talk for a little while and they deliberate, because the community is the jury, right? Now, when you have all these fucking people, you have to have a jury, because there's too many people to just stuff in one big room like that. But honestly, I think that is actually what should have happened. If a bunch of people want to tear you apart for stealing taxes, I think the judge doesn't actually have any power to stop them from doing so. They're the community. Now, should murder occur? No. But I don't think the judge can actually, like, technically should be able to, by rights. You know, when you look at it from, like right and wrong, I don't believe the judge should be able to prosecute the community for meting out their justice. I think they're there to only tell the community whether they're right or not. That's it. I don't think they're there to dispense fines or tell you that you can't smoke a joint in Kentucky or something like that, right? I don't even think that's actually should be technically legal under actual law for them to tell you what to do. You don't live there, you know? You don't live there. You smoke joints in Colorado, so what the fuck do you care if you know, I mean, it matters when it's rape and murder, but I mean, or in stealing and stuff, but like, what the fuck do you care if it's legal for you to smoke a joint in Colorado, but it's not legal for you to smoke a joint in Kentucky? Like, honestly, the only way you should ever be able to be held for that charge is that the community demands it. The judge should not be able to just be like, you owe us $450 now, pay up. You know, that is actually fairly corrupt, kind of the corrupt, like, old country corrupt. Our legislative system has become old world corrupt. And, like, honestly, I don't know why somebody should be hassled for marijuana in a courtroom in a place that they don't live, or any other drug, or any other fucking crime, technically, if the community doesn't care. If the community doesn't care or know about the crime, I don't believe it's the police's job or the judge's job to go looking for it. That's the community's job, kind of. The community's job is to have an issue with the criminal, and then tell the judge that they have an issue with the criminal and what they think, and then the judge has to see if it's true or not. If what they think is true, I think most times throughout all of mankind's history, the judge leaves the room and the community tears the person apart. And this is how we used to get closure for stuff like rape, murder, incest, all the nasty fucking things that send you to hell, right? We didn't get closure through, like, some sentence meted out by a judge. If we knew that, you know, Sam raped Carol, and all the Bobbies in the community know, and all the Alices in the community know, the Bobbies and the Alices technically get to tear the Sam apart. It's not the judge or the jail or the... These are things that are inherent about law. This is how laws always work. Jails were not common. You notice in Skyrim, they never have big jails like we've got. You ever notice that? It's always just like some little rinky-dink thing under the constable's office. This is how America was for the first 350 years. There was never this Supermax Prime fucking thing or whatever. And this is particularly because the community decided to start letting a judge and a jury decide with maritime law whether or not what should happen to somebody, as opposed to the community, which was a mistake. I don't care what 12 people think about some rapist murderer. I care about what the community thinks about the murderer, right? And by rights, the community, if they want to, should be able to tear the aggressor apart. That's like natural law. And the judge and the cops are only there to prevent that if it is unjust, right? Usually, we have public hangings since all the way until 1895 or something like that, and we condemn, we prove it, and we meet the shit out in a single day. and we don't torture the criminals in lifelong jails or any of this, and we give them we used to be really strong Americans. I am not pro capital case, actually. I don't believe in capital murder. I actually don't. I would rather they spent life in jail. My thing is I think a bunch of them shouldn't be in life in jail. I think a bunch of them are nonviolent offenders that shouldn't be in life in jail. You know? I really don't think so. I think they should pay their debts to the community, work a chain gang, and all this. I think we gave a lot of power to judges and juries, specifically so, and this has only been like this for 100 years. Usually we public hang them that day. If you get caught robbing the bank, or cop raping Alice, or get caught like stealing from Bobby or whatever, we just full-blown hang you right then and there that day. And the judge is only there to make sure that the community doesn't tear you apart before they prove that you did it. That's it. You know what I'm saying? And I want to return to that. I hate to say it, but I do. I want to see public fucking trials, because I believe the power of the people has been usurped to 12 people that can be corrupted by rich people. I think juries are fundamentally corrupt. And I think one person in a jury is almost always fundamentally corrupt. And I want the judgment, the justice meted out by the community. And I want the judge and the police to make sure that we don't get savage, right? We don't just condemn and murder them right there. We've got to actually show it, right? The lawyers actually got to show it and all that, right? And it could be a long court case if it needs to be, or whatever. You know, it could be 6 months if it needs to be, whatever. But the main thing is the community's there freely, and as many of them as want to be there, and they get to see what happens, and they get to comment on it and be there and yell at you about it and be like, that is a lie. And the community gets to say, and there's not this shit that rich people imposed on judges like, Trump, you cannot talk in this court case. You cannot talk in this court case. This is 11 times now. I've charged you $1,000 every time. You cannot talk during this court case, and all this stupid fucking fascist shit. That is not how law has been for thousands and thousands of years. It's the community standing in the room with pitchforks and forks looking to lynch somebody who fucked up somebody in their community, right? And it's gotten far more complicated because we've got corporate law and billions of people and all this shit. And it's got to be something. Maybe it's juries. I guess it's juries. That's fine. But I'm saying, though, we have depowered ourselves as the community a great deal. I think if you were to poll America, I think you would find that most of us don't really approve of nonviolent drug offenses being in jail. I would say it's like 70%. Even a lot of the right-wingers would probably say that, right? But our opinion never ever matters, because in all the court cases, it's meted out by the judge and the jury. That's it. We have completely depowered ourselves as the American people, and the judge and the jury have just oodles more power than we as the public do. And so we can't go tear apart a school shooter in the fucking town square and show the school shooters what actually happens to school shooters, right? We can't go do what we do as humans. We lynch them in the town square. I swear to God, that's what we've done since millennia. And I don't want to return to that. Some would say that is our most base things. So yeah, we have cops and we have judges, and we make sure that our allegations are true. But I don't want this 6-month thing ever, almost. And if it is, it's got to be special, like you know, condemning a president or something like that. It's got to be longer if it's something like that, but it doesn't need to be long for the average foul vice crime or something like murder, theft, you know, that kind of thing, right? We used to hang horse thieves, you know, because how fucked up is that? You know, that could be a pregnant woman. Did you steal her horse? You know, can she make it to the doctor now? Stealing someone's horse or car is actually so fucked up. Not because you're stealing the car. I'm actually totally okay with that, believe it or not. I'm actually totally okay with Grand Theft Horse and Grand Theft Auto. I'm actually totally okay with it. I'm an anarchist, right? But what I don't believe is, and this is one of the reasons why I don't own a car, right? But what I don't believe is that I lost my train of thought. I'm sorry. Like, you know, anyways, I lost my train of thought. I'm sorry. But like, yeah, I'm sorry. I'm just going to stop. Like I believe there's a lot of rich people kibitzing and problems and I think they've built systems that only benefit them. I think our current legislative system benefits rich people only. And look at it, like how like isn't Harvey Weinstein completely reversed or something like that, wasn't it? Or like one of them was, or something like that, right? One of the reasons that's happening is technically the community, in every other instance since mankind's birth, the community descends on him and tears him apart when they find out that he's raped 30 women, right? And the judge is only there. The cops will stop them for a minute while they figure out whether or not he's guilty. But when 30 women come forward and say, yeah, he did it, then the community is allowed by the judge and the cops, by rights, to just tear that fucker apart. That's how actual community policing works. And it's a good system. It's very, 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 very tough on crime in a very, very preventative way. When someone knows that they're likely to be torn apart into pieces by an angry horde if they rape some woman in their community, there's a lot less rapes. But if they know that they might face a 2-year fucking court case kangaroo thing where they can lie a bunch to try and sway the fucking outcome and even maybe bribe a juror and just outright win, right? If they're a rich rapist and they can just bribe a juror and outright win, right? You begin to see how a bunch of the systems in the fucking world have been set up by rich people to make sure that rich scoundrels can just buy their way out of any fucking problem, from the non-disclosure agreement on up to world wars and shit like that, right? It's all set up so that we, the people, don't have fucking any power. It's always somebody that we elected or an electoral thing, right? And it's never like we have any power to mete out actual justice or anything like that. We don't get to tear down the wall or anything like that. It's always some cop telling us what to do, or some governor or something like that, right? And I don't understand that as a political system. It doesn't technically work like communism. You cannot have a system where a bunch of people who are not the public tell you what to do. You cannot have a system where a jury, a bunch of cops, the chair, and a judge replace actual community condemnation. You cannot have that. You need the community to be able to come into the room and be like, we believe that he did this and this and this, and here's the victims, and they've got all this proof and everything, and we're going to lynch him right now in 5 minutes. Like, we got 110 people here that full-blown believe that he's fucking guilty, and we're going to lynch him, judge, right? That's what court used to be, and it was a lot more civil. A lot more. You wouldn't think so when the tearing apart part comes around, but there's a lot less tearing apart when you get torn apart 5 minutes after you committed the crime. You know, like that one movie, Buster Scruggs, the ballet of Buster Scruggs, right? He robs the bank at 9 a.m. He's convicted at 12. He's almost hung at 3 o'clock, and then he's definitely hung at 6 o'clock, right? All the same day, right? This is what we did to horse thieves. That's not even rape or murder. You know what I'm saying? That's like stealing someone's car. Should we kill someone for stealing someone's car? Actually, I believe we should. And I don't believe we should do it with a chair. I believe we should let the community member's family, whose car he stole, beat the shit out of him with baseball bats right up there in the courtroom. Actual justice, and not this perversion that you've got where a rich fucking cocksucker like Donald Trump can sign a non-disclosure agreement and get around raping children, getting around raping women, get around sleeping with porn stars. They can get around killing people, drunken car crashes, hookers. It doesn't matter what the fuck it is. If they throw enough money at it, some juror or some judge or some corrupt motherfucker takes the money and lets them off. And allows the NDA and even the victim sometimes is so fucking seduced by the amount of money that person is offering them that they're just like, yeah, I'll let you walk. Yep, I'll take the 600 mil. I realize that you'd rather give me everything you own than die, and I'll let you do it because I'd rather have your 600 million than kill you, right? This is why NDAs happen. It's that fucking savage, you know. But yeah, what I really think should happen is all the victims come with all their families, and the families of the victims hold up pieces of paper that are evidence for the fucking barristers in the court to see and provide the judge. The judge sits there for a couple of hours and reads it all and looks at the information and all this. And the community waits, and they stand around and they tap their legs and stuff, and they wait, and this is what it used to be, you know, and it should still be that. I don't know why it changed. And when the judge says, yeah, I think you're right, I think he stole this goddamn horse, then they go, all right, well, fuck him, you know what we do to horse thieves, and they have the cops tie him up, and they drag his ass out to the fucking, this is how justice in America did for 300 years. I don't know why we didn't lose it. We wouldn't have all this rape and murder and school shootings and all this stupid ass shit. And so yeah, that motherfucker, he thinks twice about robbing a bank because yeah, he heard done tell that in Carson City, an angry mob fucking, you know, like tore his ass apart right out there in front of the fucking courthouse, right? They tore him apart. They just drawn and quartered his ass. They got 4 horses and they tied him. You know, I don't want to talk about this because I don't want to get demonetized, but like, you know, they drawed and quartered his ass, right? And trust me, the people are happy. The victims get closure. The fucking justice is severe and quick, and it really actually is preventative towards crime because the guy is thinking, before I go take this gun, I'm starving and I need to go rob a bank to feed my family. But he thinks again about it, right? Because in this system, if he goes and robs a bank, what all is likely to happen? The banker probably lets him go. If the banker doesn't let him go, the security cop in the fucking bank probably dies trying to stop him or something, right? If he gets out of the bank, the feds chase him and they track the money and all the numbers on the money and all this crap, right? But nothing is ever actually prevented. Do you understand? None of this crime is prevented, right? In the old days, if you robbed a bank, maybe you got away with it. And there was a lot of bank robberies and stuff. There was, right? But not many. You know, there was a lot, but it wasn't like there are today. There's thousands of bank robberies and stuff like this. It was a lot less common for somebody to act like a criminal back in the good old days. You want to know why? Because when you did, you got torn apart by the mob. And I believe we need to kind of return to that. If you rape a woman in my community, I believe her male family members should be able to go at you with axes. I believe that. I really do. I don't believe in the chair. I do not believe in the needle. I don't believe in a judge and a jury meeting out that goddamn fucking, that kind of fucking power. I don't want judges and juries having that kind of power. That power should reside with the people. So I will speak like a lawyer because I want to pass the bar someday. I believe in this stuff. I believe in the law, and I believe that the proof must be given, or our armed, you know, cops and our armed security guards and our armed, judicial police have, like, you know, shotguns and stuff right outside the courtroom and stuff. I mean, I'm not against, like, the security at all. You might think I am because I'm anti-fascist, but like, I am not against the security. Actually, we need the security, but the only reason that we need the security is to prevent the mob from acting like the mob. That's it. We don't need the security pulling us over. We don't need the security seeking us for crimes. We don't need the security out there running around. It's nice that they're in our community and stuff, but like, I don't actually need them to scare us all the time. I actually don't really approve of that. And when something bad happens and a community is pissed off and they go to hang the person, I goddamn want those cops coming in 15 seconds with their SWAT gear and their fucking machine guns and their helicopters and their riot tanks and shit to prevent the mob from tearing the person apart until the judge can determine very quickly whether or not the community thinks they're guilty and whether or not they're actually right or not. And I think most times inside of 5 minutes, the judge can determine from the crowd whether or not the crowd is going to tear them apart, whether the judge thinks they're guilty or not. And if the judge sees that the crowd is going to tear the person apart anyways, I believe the judge should get out of the fucking way and let the community have their fucking justice, honestly. I know that sounds savage, but if you surround a bunch of riot cop pigs with fucking bullet shields and shit around the guy, and you're like, all right, go at him. He fucking raped your sister. Get your closure. And trust me, there'll be a lot less rapes in our fucking community. A lot less robberies, a lot less car thefts, all this stupid gang shit and all this problems. A lot less crime in our fucking community. If the people believed that day they could be torn apart by their own family. One of the things I think is really crazy about our own justice system is I think a lot of the time your own family will kill you, would willingly kill you if it wasn't against the law. I think a lot of the times if you're a bad son and you commit a bunch of crime and rape some women or some weird shit or whatever, right? Like, I believe your own family should be able to legally remove you from the fucking community's goddamn picture. Like, legally. I honestly kind of believe that. I don't believe murder should be legal. I believe that if your family has a belief that you are guilty of something like murder or rape and that you should die, I think they should be able to tear you apart right then and there. And the judges and the cops should only be there to prevent them from doing so unless it's actually justified. That's it. And that's what they've always been for thousands of years. And we give them all this maritime fucking like naval maritime police power and jurisdiction and laws and juries and jurisprudence and penal codes and all these things that are actually kind of like hunting our own citizens. And I believe that the community should always be sacrosanct and that their will should always be imposed first and foremost right then and there. And I think that is the right to a speedy trial. And I think that's what the Founding Fathers were talking about, is you have a right to a speedy trial. Like back then it meant, well, if the community thinks you raped or hurt somebody or robbed somebody or took their gun or their horse or something when they needed it, well, you die now. You hang or we chop off your head, one or the other. You get the block or the noose, right? Right there in front of fucking everybody, right then and there. No court date dragged out for 8 months until we're so used to the person we don't want to kill them anymore, and we have Stockholm syndrome or whatever. And like we don't want to kill O.J. Simpson, so we just let him go at this point or whatever kind of shit like that or whatever. So it's just like, you know, and all that isn't there because like the community's interest in actually policing its own community is there. And the fathers who are pissed off over the rape daughters are standing there calling for your blood right there in the courtroom. And the judge and the cops are there to restore order to just the courtroom, not the streets, not the other stuff, right? And honestly, the community is expected usually in almost all cultures since the dawn of man, when a woman is being attacked or someone is being robbed, the community is supposed to come collapsing like a big dog pile and surround that person so they can't leave, while the constable drags them off to the judge and prevents the fucking mob from tearing them apart for whatever they did. And this sounds based, but this is how America grew up. This is how our justice has always been until 1890 or something like that, when we started using the hanging judges and the juries and the jurisprudence and the fucking penal codes and all that shit that naval time fucking judges use. Not civil judges. Civil judges deal with 2 barristers in the community. That's it. You know what I'm saying? So bring it back to the old times. I know I sound like some crazy right-winger talking about like bloody law and order, but my thing is I don't believe in them being in jail all of their lives, and I don't really believe in giving them the chair. I believe in letting the victim's family tear them the fuck apart. They wouldn't do so much crime if they got torn apart by the victim's family all the time. There is a man that I would very much like to beat with a baseball bat until he was dead, because he beat and raped the woman that I love. I can't do that because of fucking jurisprudence and judges and cops and bullshit fucking juries and all this shit, right? And you want to know how I want to beat his ass to death with baseball bats? I want to go get her father and her brother, and I want to go into her hometown and get her fucking homies and her fucking homiettes, and I'm going to drag their fucking asses down to the courtroom and mete out the justice right in the fuck front of them and fucking tear this motherfucker apart with axes. Her father, her brother, and me. Right? The man who truly loves her and wants her for a wife. And I wish to tear this motherfucker apart in that courtroom. I don't give a shit about his trial. I don't give a right? And the judge needs to tell me whether or not our allegations, as I show the pictures of her body being beaten, bloody, and bruised, to the fucking judge, and then point at the guy and you know, and be like, yeah, this is what he did to her. And honestly, the judge shouldn't look at him. The judge shouldn't look at a jury. The judge shouldn't look at the barristers. The judge should look at the community. And when he sees like 50 angry people there, and he sees the pictures of her beaten, broken body in their fucking hands. The judge is like, yes, I pronounce you guilty. You may now receive your fate. And he leaves the room, and the cops leave the room, and the guy's still chained up, but we're not. And real, actual American justice ensues, meted out by the fucking people who were actually victimized by the person, and not like poor prison like workers who have to put some guy to the chair, or you know, like or why do we keep them alive for 100 years? I don't really know about that. Let the victim's family tear them apart if they want to. If the victim's family doesn't want to tear them apart for their transgressions, then they should be able to just walk. I don't want jails full of fucking people. I don't want the streets running with rapists and murderers and stuff. So this is why I suggest that we just tear them to pieces when we have the evidence to actually prosecute them, and do it right then and there and get it over with, and then let them, you know, let them decide whether they want to keep raping and murdering people or not. And I think when they realize that we're going to tear them apart every single time they do it, as opposed to maybe a mistrial or a judge or a fancy lawyer or a non-disclosure or something like that, when they realize that they're not going to get out of it ever, that the community is always going to fucking tear them apart based off the fact that there's 50 people there in the community telling the judge that they want you dead, right? Not some jury, like a big crowd of fucking people, right? And so if you do a crime and you and your victim brings it to the court and the cops and they drag you on down to that fucking courtroom and all that, and the community's there and there's only one person standing there and they've got a bullshit story about how you stole their newspaper rolls and that's why they, you know, that's why they and that's why they want you dead or whatever. The judge goes, no, the community cannot just kill somebody for stealing a newspaper roll or whatever. No. And I don't think the community would want that, because there's no one standing here agreeing with you. It's you versus him. This is a tip between you and him. You are both free to deal with your tiff, you know? Tear yourself apart if you want to, but we're not going to spend billions of dollars fucking prosecuting you and keeping you in some fucking box all your goddamn life because you fucking fucked his wife or something like that. No. You know? We're not going to do that. We're not going to, like, you know, so just, you know, let the community fucking deal with their shit. I think you have emasculated and ball clipped our fucking community with the legal system. And I think the rich people did this on purpose. And I'm repeating myself. I'm going to stop.
The king felt the time was right.
I think every time a rich person commits a crime, they can just basically, you know, don't pass, you know, just get out of jail free card with either a juror or a judge or the victim, one of the three. And every time a truly rich person commits a crime, they can just NDA the victim, bribe the judge, or bribe a juror. One of the three. And I believe this is why we have the juror system, and it's why we have the electoral college. I believe it's why we have the judge system the way that it is now. We have hanging judges and people that impose $600 million fines on Alex Jones for lying and stuff like this. It's just weird. I don't like Alex Jones, but I don't believe what he says, and I don't think I think he should have been sued. But I don't know if lying to the public should cost $600 million. I don't think he should have had $600. I don't think that man should have had more than $200 million in the first fucking place. Why is some judge or jury asking for $600 million? Why does he ever have more than $200 million in the first fucking place? You know what I'm saying? And there's this savage hypocrisy shit going on in the background where you're putting a price on someone's life essentially at that point, and you're like, hey, the NDA is worth more than this person's life, so yeah, just kill him. The billionaires can just kill people, you know? And this isn't my idea. This is something BoJack Horseman brought up in season 6 or 5, I think it was 5 or 6, something like that. Season 6, BoJack ran a fucking whole skit about how billionaires can straight kill and rape people now because they can just bribe any victim, bribe any judge, or bribe any juror and just walk. Or just, you know, or just pay for the crime. They can just pay for the crime but do no time, right? And I mean, that is not justice. That is not a justice system. That is rich people setting up a fucking hoodwink. I'm dead serious. It is entirely skewed towards rich people. It is skewed horribly towards poor people. Poor people can't do shit in court. They can't represent themselves. The public defenders are always overworked and can't actually provide a real defense that might keep somebody out of jail or anything like that. The whole thing is so goddamn crooked. The court system is fucked. The rich people fucked the politics up. They fucked up the court system. It's rich people. It's all of it. It's always rich people. It's stupid. It's like, I know I'm like you know, boogeymanning like rich people, but I mean, like, I believe that is the ultimate problem. I think it is the core of the problem. I think they set up the legal system to defend only them. I think they set up the electoral system to elect only them. I think they set up the fucking judicial system to defend only them and not empower the community. I think all the power is in the military, which is controlled by the government, not the people. I think the government decides when we go to war, not the people, which is not in our best interests. And all this other shit, we have given them too much fucking power. Too much power.
Government to help. The Estates General was made up of representatives.
Like we are the community. We are the people. We like, motherfucker, we decide whether they live or die, not some judge or jury. What the fuck is that shit? We're the community. We're the people. We decide. We decided. It's not some jury or some lawyer or some defense or something. It's a defense. Yeah, like the lawyers can sit there and argue for 6 months if they want before we mete out our justice, but I still want to mete out our justice. We wouldn't have nearly as much crime if we actually had people tearing you apart for robbing your granny. You know what I'm saying? You robbed my grandma. This is me and my homies. We actually love our fucking abuela. This is me and my homies, and we really love our abuela. And you fucking ripped her off in a fucking old folks home scheme. So we're here with baseball bats. After the judge says you're guilty of that, we get to use the bats, right? Are you gonna do this again? And they're like, no, we aren't, right? Because they're dead. They're beaten up by baseball bats. And then anybody who's there in the room with them understands what happens to bad actors in our community who rape women or steal shit or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, what happened to real justice in America?
States, that is, the clergy, the nobility, and everybody else. Okay.
Yeah, the clergy, the nobility.
Everyone. The first order of business is regarding the clergy and nobility. You all get brand new Porsches. You get a Porsche. And you get a Porsche. And you...
Oh my God, Oprah Winfrey.
You get a Porsche. Everybody gets a Porsche.
Let them eat cake.
And now into the second order of business. France is completely out of money. Like, it's never been this bad before. Anyone got any ideas? How about we all get Lamborghinis next time? The king decided that in order to make a decision, they had to come up with a voting system. Okay, the clergy. You have a population of 130,000, so you'll get one vote.
One vote.
The nobility. You have a population of 350,000.
So you get one vote. Sound familiar?
So you'll also get one vote.
Thanks, Louis XIV, for giving us the Electoral College that gave us Trump. The other Louis XIV.
And the third estate. You have a population of 27 million people and make up 98% of the population. Very impressive.
It all comes full circle. It's all Louis XIV and you know, Louis XIV jackhammering Trump in the butthole for thousands of years until we learn and we as poor people talk to each other on the internet, right? We're just gonna keep falling for this stupid ass shit. And every time somebody pitches that name Trump, I'm like, God, I bet you believe in Biden too, huh? Oh my God. Don't believe in ghost kids. These people don't exist. It's entirely a system based around keeping you fucking suppressed, and they've rigged every system, and they've rigged every game. The Super Bowl is not legitimate. Nobody wins the Super Bowl. It's always whoever has the most money. Wars are not legitimate. It's whoever has the most money. There's never been a legitimate war.
The third estate were obviously pretty unhappy with this system because they kept on finding that this would happen. We proposed to raise taxes on the third estate.
Yeah, and they're like, no, we're the third estate, and we say no.
All in favor?
No.
All opposed? 2-1. Taxes will be raised on the third estate. We propose a motion that says the first two estates are a bunch of poo-poo heads. All in favor? All opposed? 2-1. It's official. We are not poo-poo heads. The third estate realized that any attempt at reform would be outvoted by the two upper estates. and they thought that was kind of...
Yep, and that's me. I'm in the third estate. I'm a third estater, right? And I realized that they've been rigging the fucking game since the dawn of time. It's not even since America. It's since the dawn of time. The rich people have been rigging this fucking game, and our only hope is for the poor people to finally talk to each other on the internet across country lines and burn the rich and feed the poor and until there's not more rich anymore.
lame. So they decided that since they were 98% of the population, they could go off to form their own government, make their own laws, and take over the running of the country. And
yeah, which is what they always do. And so, yeah, and then they just send us to wars overseas so they can gather more money off their arms sales and do more cocaine and hookers and child sex and all their cabal shit. And that's the state of things. And anybody who backs Trump or Biden, goddamn 2024, is to me like a traitor to humanity. Like a traitor to humanity, not just America, but not just Trump, but also Biden. You know, saying anybody voting Trump, Biden in 2024 is like a traitor to the world. You know what I'm saying? Not just America, but the world. Backing these fucking rich assholes as they run their lobbies into the fucking ground, do nothing for 60 years, and declare war. The only thing they ever do is declare war, right? That's the only thing they ever do. They declare higher taxes, they declare higher inflation, they declare fucking higher interest rates, and they declare war. That's it. That's the only four things that these fucking sycophants ever fucking, you know, these fucking parasites ever do. And so, like, if we were to just sort of address this and talk to each other on the internet and cross the boundary, the class boundary that was never possible for tens of thousands of years because poor people from China couldn't go talk to poor people from Japan, they would just kill each other, right? Poor people from America wouldn't go talk to poor people from Mexico, they would just kill each other. Poor people from Spain wouldn't go talk to, you know, et cetera, right? They would just kill each other, right? Because they don't speak the same language often. They don't speak this. They don't have the same money. They don't have the same interests. They don't have the same country, same king. They have nothing in fucking common. So they absolutely did not talk to each other. They mostly just opened fire, right? Kill that guy over there. He's not us, right? That's literally what the world politics have been for tens of thousands of years until electricity, basically, at which point we became civilized and we got the telegraph and we started talking to each other, right? And then as soon as we started talking to each other, we had to basically declare like the UN Geneva Conventions and stuff and all this other like stuff about being actually good people as opposed to like war criminal assholes and fascists and stuff, right? And we had to like declare world law, like you can't use gases and you can't use like mind psyops and you can't use sound torture and shit like this, right? And all this other stuff, right? And they're like, you know, and or you can probably, I don't know, maybe you can, but anyways, don't use sarin gas, that kind of stuff. And so yeah, and the minute we started all talking to each other, the only people who talked to each other were the people who could afford the telegrams, which is the upper class, right? So the only people who ever talked to each other across, you know, border lines were the people who in the lower and middle class who traveled on ships and did tours overseas and did like, you know, stuff overseas and stuff like that. And they talked to each other, but and there was knowledge that was passed all over the world, but there wasn't the telegram or the internet or any kind of direct line of communication to let the world know how much of a poo-poo head Russia is for for attacking Ukraine, right? Because there wasn't the telegram to tell the world that Ukraine was even attacking Russia. And so often world wars would happen and nobody would even know, you know? Whole countries on the planet wouldn't even know that it happened, you know? So now we have electricity and the telegraph and the wireless, and we can communicate pretty well across the world within a single day and within a single minute, really. And so that's pretty good. That's better than we've done before. But we still don't talk to each other because we don't speak the same languages. We don't have the same kings. We don't have the same money. We don't have the same class systems. We don't have the same beliefs or the same religions. We still do not talk to each other in the age of internet. This needs to end because I suspect that if all of the poor people of the world were to talk to each other, I think we would begin to realize how bad the rich people have actually been and that all the world's problems have stemmed from 1% of the world's population. And so we could just go... We don't even have to kill that 1% of the world's population. We don't even have to hurt them. We can just go take 4/5 of their money the way that they don't believe we're 4/5 of a human being. I would say that most rich people probably believe that the lower and the middle class are 4/5 of a human being. I guarantee it. I guarantee they probably think we have something missing or we'd be rich, you know? So my thing is at that point, you just can't have more than, I don't know, $100 million. Does any one human need more than $100 million? And I impose the salary cap like a fucking communist. But the difference is, I don't give a two shits about capitalism. I don't want the capitalism to end. I am not a communism, right? I'm not a communist. Like, I don't mind the capitalism. I'm just saying, rich people in my country can't have. I don't care about other countries. Rich people in my country can't have more than $100 million anymore. We need that money to stop drug addiction and mental health issues and school shootings and and education and food and infrastructure. I want high-speed cable in every home in America, or we won't be able to compete like with China, like all those idiot right-wings say, and all this other stuff, right? Like, yeah, and I mean it too. I don't want capitalism to end. I am not a communism, but I will suggest we salary cap every fucking millionaire in this country past 100. And anything higher than that, not only do you donate any more money than 100 million, you also show me where every cent came from. And I mean the public, not the fucking record or a court during a court case. I mean, if the public asks you why you have more than $100 million, you have to answer, or we just tear you apart and take the money. And the judge says, are you guilty of keeping more than $100 million? And you say, no. And we say, yes, you are. Because you had to tell us where you got this money from. And we figured it out. And we're going to tear you apart. And we're going to take all of it now. And we're going to dole it out. There's 700 million fucking Americans. You had $3 billion and you chose to keep more than 100. And so now $2.9 billion goes out to 700 million Americans. And no, we're no longer poor. And yes, we are the number one country in the world, as we've always been, as long as we keep the rich people the fuck out of our face. And I'll paint this fantasy for the rest of my life until it happens. You know what I'm saying? Until it happens. I have no fear of it. I want it so badly. I don't care. Eat the rich, feed the poor, till there's no more rich no more. You know? And you can keep your 100 million if you're a cool Bill Gates type who gave us Microsoft. Sure. Go live in your Taj Mahal $100 million McMansion and all this. And all the Americans don't go rob your house when you're out on your publicist tour, because all of them have $1 million instead of you having $3 billion. Does it make sense? Does it sound like something that would stand up in a court of law or in a mathematical equation, right? Instead of one person having $3 billion, 700 million could have 3. Simple equation? Simple enough for you? And no, we don't. And you can keep 100 of that 3 billion, Warren Buffett or whatever, and you can keep your McMansion and choose what you keep and liquefy all the rest and give it to the American government. And they make sure that there's not a single child in this country that doesn't have a fucking master's quality education. They make sure that every child in this country can eat. Every child in this country has a car. Every child in this country has a space shuttle. Every child in this country has a fucking internet connection. Every child in this country actually knows how bad the rich people are and all this stuff. Every child in this country has physical therapy, mental therapy options, suicide watch if they want it, maternity leave, all the things that mankind wants but doesn't get because Warren Buffett's got $3 billion. And I say, give me your 2.9 billion. You can keep your 100, or we'll take all of it. And no, it doesn't go to the government so they can fight Afghanistan like the pieces of worthless shit that they've been, kill the Republican and the Democratic Party and get them the fuck out of here, right? The money goes to the public. In every bank account in this country gets $1 million, whether we like it or not. You know what I'm saying? Every bank account in this country gets 1 million of that 3 billion that Warren Buffett's got, you know? I can't think of a more evil base man in goddamn fucking history. Well, then Bill Gates. Yeah, Bill Gates. Your philanthropy is crooked. I don't believe in you being a good person. I don't like you wringing your hands in front of the PBS lady. I don't trust you. And I'd like to tear you apart in front of 300,000 fucking people for what you did to us with Microsoft, what you did to the military with Microsoft, what you did to those kids on Jeffrey's plane, and all the other shit. You know what I'm saying? And I want to take your money. I don't think there's any left, but I mean, hey, if there's any money left, you can keep 100 million of it if you want to live and you want to walk out of this situation. Or you can, you know, or you can try and keep it and we'll just kill you and take all of it. Because you have been hoarding and you have been Louis the 14th for far too long. And so, yeah, I can give you an option. As the American public, I demand that you reduce to 100 million right now, today. Or we just come and slash your bank accounts. We have the American government. We vote for the American government. I can call for a vote, an emergency vote right in the Congress as a citizen. I think I can. I can call for an emergency vote where I say, if you don't cap the salaries on these motherfuckers today at 100 million, right? You're fired as the Congress or whatever, and we'll just go do it anyways because we're sick of you fucking sitting up there with your $3 billion surplus while we stare through the windows and starve to death. I will not do it anymore. It is a base Satan thing. I will not put up with your evil anymore. I will not do it. You know? That's all I have to say.
So, the National Assembly was born. The third estate...
And if you don't know how to live off $100 million, I think you are a wicked man who should be torn apart by the public. Elon Musk
was now in control, and there was nothing the king could do to stop. Haha! I've locked you all out of your building. What are you gonna...
If you can't deal with 100 million, right? And just start paying that public fund for every dollar that you get over 100 million. You can go make your 6 billion. We want you to. Do you understand? I'm not against capitalism. I'm really not. Hey, Warren Buffett, go make 6 billion more dollars, but 5.9 million of it is going 590 million of it, or whatever this is, like I forget all the math with billions, right? But like a whole bunch of zeros of that go to us, not you, because we're America. You're not. And if you love America, you'll cap yourself at 100 fucking million or whatever, 200 million, whatever the public decides. Let the Congress run a fucking poll, right? Cap our billionaires cap our millionaires, cap our millionaires and our billionaires at 100 million. Take that money, put it into the budget, and pay Japan. And make sure every homeless person in this country has a house and a car. Because I really don't think $3 billion needs to sit in fucking Warren Buffett's bank account while we starve in the streets like literally 600 years ago in the French Revolution. If you don't want to get the fucking guillotine, I suggest you capitulate to the Congress and fix the fucking greed now. Or you can see what's coming. We'll just come and take it. You can have your $3 billion, or the 700 million of us can have one. What do you think is going to happen? Yeah, or the 700 of us can have 3, right? You can have your $3 billion, or we can have our fucking our 8 million. You know, what do you think we're going to do? Are we going to let you keep your 3 billion, or should we go cap you at 100 million and put the rest into the public fund to make sure that our kids can get college? Make sure that the inner city kids are getting an education. Make sure that they have food and healthcare. The single mothers have support in their community from people who are making good salaries from the money that we all have suddenly, because the rich people aren't stockpiling it anymore. Isn't it such a wonderful, beautiful fantasy to eat the rich and feed the poor until there is no rich no more? Sing it with me, guys. Eat the rich, feed the poor, till there aren't no rich no more. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, dun. I believe for the last, 2.5 hours of this session, I will get off of YouTube and I will play some music, because I believe when there's about to be a revolution, music and dancing should occur in the palace once again, which is the name of my song that I'm going to fucking cut in the next couple of weeks. It's music and dancing in the palace once again, right? And so I'm going to put on some music now because I think it's appropriate when we're planning the revolution and the death of Louis the 14th and all the fucking richer parasites that killed the world. It is only right to listen to revolutionary music. So let's listen to some revolutionary music, okay? And I will get off of Rust, I think. Yep, how are we here? Are we off this game? Yeah, we're off this game. So off this game, and then I'm going to go change the title of my Twitch. And I'm going to listen to music for the last couple of 2.5 hours of my shift or something like that. It's about as late in the morning as it needs to be so I can start singing. Thank you so much for the follows, Illy Yarmy and JDog7388. I appreciate that. What's up, JDog? I appreciate it. Then we come and we look for yeah, cool. Hey, oh, upload cancel, but all the rest of them are there. I want you to reload. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, good. I've got to do that work first. But first, we change the title on Twitch and we say music, games, and love. And we get off of this session and we end the video. And so 5, 16, 24, music, games, and love, right? And then we come and we go like da 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 da, and save. And, you know, I'll keep going until they shoot me with a high-power rifle from across the street or right up close. I'll keep going for you guys, I promise. Like Abby Hoffman, I'll never stop. I'll keep saying fuck you, machine, and trying to fight the system for you guys, I promise. And I'll throw bombs when I need to. And I don't care. Like, I don't know, I believe in us when a lot of us don't, I think. I don't think the government believes in us. I don't think the people believe in us. But I believe in us and the people getting their power back, right? Fight the power. Fight the powers that be. Fight the powers. So to my video audience, this 11 and a half hour session, which can be reflected here. This is 11 and a half hour session. To my YouTube audience who is watching on YouTube, this session will end now, and I'm terribly sorry that this recording will end because because the rich people have ruined music, and I will get DMCA'd if I sing or play music on my YouTube, but not my Twitch. So sorry guys, got to bail on this video. But before I go, gonna come to my website, which is skycat.live, and to my streamer people on my stream, my Twitch will remain running, but my YouTube will stop and my recording will end, and I will begin singing and playing music and playing Fortnite. So yeah, so, and that's what's going on here. Got a transition coming. I'm sorry, I pulled most of a shift now, and almost all of it was talking. I did very little work on the games, and that's a good session, but it's very draining. I must shut off my brain now and listen to revolutionary music and stuff that like helps me think about how to topple the government without ever firing a shot and restore the money back to the populace where it belongs and save all the children's. Click on the cat space to donate. Click on the Twitch if you wish to sub and follow to me. If you like my fucking rabble-rousing or whatever the fuck, if you like my video games that I'm playing or whatever, you like what I say, or you think you like my fat face or whatever, I love you guys. Thank you so much. Come to the YouTube channel and come and click on me and follow me. Come to any of my friends' channels like Pondering in the Pines or such. And thank you so much for your time, YouTube. I like you. I love you. Thank you for hanging out with me. I appreciate you watching me when I couldn't watch you. I am Skycat Live. My website is skycat.live. I'm a full-time variety gamer all day, every day. Put me on in the background. Sorry to be in a rush. I'm trying to get forward and moving on for the rest of the people here. Love you guys. Video's ending. Goodbye.